Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. My attributes are doubled infinitely, and I become a billion points stronger every day. Chapter 1. Here's international news. A giant virus monster appeared in the beautiful country, and Washington, the capital, fell overnight. The Bad Emperor, Robot Man, Big Blue, and Dr. He gave a speech in the underground shelter base, calling on superheroes around the world to help America and save the world's lighthouse. A large number of mutated radiation sea monsters appeared in the waters of Sakura country, with sizes reaching hundreds of meters. The large tsunami caused has submerged nearly half of Sakura country. The Sakura Country Superpower Association mobilized to round up the sea monsters. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, and the situation is still unclear. Quote, the European Parliament passed the Vampire Diet Act yesterday, which stipulates that domestic vampires can only eat food made from chicken blood, duck blood, pig blood and other animal blood, and prohibits vampires from operating any medical enterprises. Once the bill was announced, it immediately aroused the joint opposition of many vampire families. Huge demonstrations broke out in various countries in Europe. The Tianju National Performance Team has set a new Guinness World Record. More than 1,000 people with superpowers stacked on the same motorcycle and rose to an altitude of 2,000 meters. It is said that their goal is to break through the atmosphere and reach outer space. So far, the challenge continues. The news broadcast was playing loudly on the television. In the office of the Academic Affairs Office, Li Luyao was sitting in the corner, holding a notice of withdrawal in his hand. His face was ashen, and he didn't know what to do. 3 years ago, he traveled to this parallel time in Space City and became an ordinary high school student. I originally thought that I could use my identity as a time traveler to make a career, but I didn't expect that the world was completely different from what I imagined. The spiritual energy is revived and superpowers are awakened. Monsters are everywhere, and there are as many supermen as dogs. Even the ant who danced square dance on the roadside had awakened superpowers, but he, a top student at a key high school in Yingchuan City, didn't even have the weakest E-level ability. Seeing that the college entrance examination is approaching, candidates who have not awakened their superpowers are not even qualified to apply for college. After repeated inspections, the school office decided to expel Li Luyao from the school to avoid affecting the school's admission rate. Teacher Yuan, can you give me another chance? There is still 1 month left before the college entrance examination. Maybe I can successfully awaken during this period. Li Luyao is still struggling, hoping that the teacher can take back his life. Lao Yuan, the head teacher sitting opposite, had a cold face and said impatiently, it's not that the teacher didn't give you a chance. You were admitted to our school with the highest written test score in the city. Even if you don't have superpowers, the principal also admitted you as a student to train top students. But in the past 3 years, tell me how many methods you have tried and how many paths you have taken, but in the end you still failed to awaken. What does this mean? It means you are not the material at all. But teacher, Li Luyao wanted to say something more, but was directly interrupted by Lao Yuan. The future belongs to the era of superpowers. Ordinary people who have not awakened are not qualified to receive a university education. I advise you not to be stubborn and hurry up. Find a technical school to learn a trade, and you can make a living in the future. If you continue to waste time on awakening, you will definitely be a useless person and be unable to do anything in the future. Li Luyao clenched his fists, frowned, and his eyes were full of unwillingness. 3 years. No one knows how he got here in the past 3 years. Since learning the truth about this world, he has understood that he must awaken his superpowers in order to have a place in society. To this end, he worked 100 times harder than others. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10 kilometers of long-distance running every day, and no matter how hot it is, don't turn on the air conditioner. Meditation, yoga, dragon field enlightenment, waterfall mind cultivation, and haunted house courage training. Electric shock therapy, light therapy, ultrasound therapy, heat conduction therapy. Acupuncture, massage, scraping, back massage, bone setting, cupping. Qi Men Dun Jia, plum blossom arithmetic, tarot cards, astrology, and alchemy. Prayer to God, law of attraction, mindfulness meditation, confession prayer. Everything he could and couldn't do, everything he could think of and everything he couldn't imagine, all the right and wrong paths, he didn't know how many methods he had tried. Still found nothing. Apart from being stared at and ridiculed every day, his body has not changed at all. Whether it is the elemental system, strengthening system, spiritual system, restoration system, natural system, special system, or summoning system, he has not even touched the slightest threshold. He has never felt even the simplest psychic fluctuations, let alone the legendary precursors of awakening and super evolution. But even so, Li Luyao never thought of giving up. As a legendary time traveler, he firmly believes that he is the chosen one with the aura of the protagonist. He hasn't awakened his superpower yet. It's just a test from God. As long as he perseveres, one day. Dong dong dong. Lao Yuan tapped the table with his fingers, pulling Li Luyao back from his endless thoughts, and urged, "Don't be in a daze, sign it quickly. If you sign today, you can also get a compensation from the school. If I kick you out a few days later, it won't look good." Li Luyao took a long breath and insisted, "Teacher Yuan, please give me another chance. If I can't awaken my superpower before the college entrance examination, I will automatically drop out of school and never cause any trouble to the school." Lao Yuan glanced at him and said coldly, Li Luyao, you have to understand that I am not negotiating terms with you now. I am fulfilling the obligation of the school affairs office to formally inform you that you have once you're fired, no matter what you say, it's useless, do you understand? Teacher, sign it quickly, or I'll call the security guard. Lao Yuan issued an ultimatum. Li Luyao's face turned pale, and when he was in despair, he suddenly heard an emotionless mechanical voice in his mind. System activating. Congratulations to the host for getting the unlimited attribute panel. Before Li Luyao could react, a glittering golden panel appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Li Luyao. Physique, 20. Strength, 23. Kung Fu, 15. Soul, 1. Huijin, 10.5. Fortune, 99. Passive talent. All attributes are doubled every morning. The panel is very simple, without much explanation. You can guess the purpose of each attribute just from the name. Physique is physical quality, strength is strength, body technique is agility, soul is spiritual power, wisdom root is understanding, and fortune is luck. And the last line made Li Luyao jump out of his seat with excitement. Teacher Yuan, I have awakened my superpower. I don't have to drop out of school. Have you awakened your superpower? Lao Yuan looked incredulous and sneered, what department? Performance department. Li Luyao thought for a while, but couldn't bring out the system to prove it, so he said tactfully, I think it should be the strengthening system, the kind that becomes 100 million points stronger every day. After saying that, he tore the notice of withdrawal from school in half in front of the class teacher, turned around and left. What are you doing? Stop, the head teacher yelled, but Li Luyao seemed not to hear him and left a sentence when he went out. I will bring the superpower qualification certificate over in 3 days, and then you will know, teacher. Quickly leaving the academic affairs office building, Li Luyao laughed loudly on the deserted playground, and the resentment he had held in for 3 years was finally wiped away. System, do you know how I have lived these 3 years? It is really not a human life. If you had activated it earlier, would I have suffered so much? Li Luyao complained in his heart and was very satisfied with this infinite attribute panel. The cheat he activated is called the Infinite Attribute System. As the name suggests, this is a system specifically used to improve the host's attributes. There are no boring task releases, no fancy carousel draws, and all attributes are automatically doubled when you wake up every day. Simple, crude, and violent. It is a genuine super plugin, a dream come true. Judging from the classification of superpowers in this world, this system does belong to the enhanced superpowers. It's just that it's different from simple body strengthening, limb strengthening, muscle strengthening, and bone strengthening. His strengthening covers all aspects. In addition to the basic 3-dimensional attributes of physique, strength, and movement, there are also soul, luck, and wisdom. These are not comparable to those big guys with well-developed limbs and simple minds. What's even more terrifying is that magical passive talent. As long as he lives, all attributes will double every day. That is times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and it will increase endlessly. Although the growth will be slow at first, and you can't see much increase. As the basic attributes continue to increase, it will gradually become very amazing, even terrifying. Give me a chestnut. Suppose the thickness of a piece of paper is 0.1 millimeters. After folding once, the thickness will become 0.2 millimeters. After folding in half 20 times, the thickness of the paper reaches 100 meters. After folding in half 27 times, the thickness of the paper reached 13,421.8 meters, exceeding the height of Mount Everest. After being folded 39 times, the thickness of the paper is about 55,000 kilometers, which is longer than the length of the Earth's equator. After folding in half 42 times, it will reach 440,000 kilometers, exceeding the distance from the Earth to the Moon. After folding 51 times, it will reach 2.2 billion kilometers, exceeding the distance from the Earth to the Sun. After being folded in half 82 times, it will reach an unimaginable 51,113 light-years, exceeding the radius of the entire Milky Way. After finally being folded in half 103 times, its thickness will exceed that of the entire observable universe. Thinking of this, Li Luyao couldn't help but put his head in his hands, which scared himself. My old swan, this superpower is really powerful. This is the legendary SSS level superpower. He couldn't imagine what he would look like in 1, 2, or 3 months, let alone how terrifying his strength would be in 1, 2, or 3 years. There is no doubt that he will definitely become a Superman. In the sky and on the earth, all over the world, invincible. A moment later, Li Luyao came to the classroom with a silly smile, ignored the teacher on the podium, and went straight to the corner seat in the last row. There was silence in the classroom where evening self-study was taking place, as whispers arose due to the arrival of Li Luyao. Isn't this guy fired? Why is he back? He's probably here to pack his things. You see, he just came in and didn't even pay attention to the teacher. He must have been expelled and doesn't matter. That's right, this guy is so pitiful. Fortunately, I have awakened my superpower, otherwise it would be too embarrassing to be kicked out of school. Shish, keep your voice down, the teacher is watching you. Li Luyao didn't care at all about the curious eyes of his classmates. He calmly took out the textbook from his desk, spread it out, and pretended to review. Suddenly, a small note was handed over from the side. It was Saola, my deskmate. Saola, like him, was the weakest person in the class. The two were brothers in need and had a profound revolutionary friendship. For 3 years, their seats have been assigned to the very end, and they are very unpopular with the teacher. Unlike Li Luyao, Saola has slightly better luck. He awakened the summoning superpower half a year ago. He originally thought he could become the master and reach the pinnacle of his life, but in the end, he could only summon pests such as spiders, mice, and cockroaches, which had no fighting power at all. Therefore, he once again became the laughingstock of the teachers and students in the school, and he was nailed to the pillar of shame and could not get off it. As for Li Luyao, he doesn't even have a chance to be on the pillar of shame. He has never been able to awaken his superpowers and is not regarded as a human being at all. He may be expelled from the school at any time. So when the head teacher called Li Luyao to the school affairs office, everyone knew that he would definitely be expelled, but they didn't expect that he would come back alive. Good guy, have you taken care of Lao Yuan? Li Luyao smiled, wrote a few words on the note and handed it back. Yes, I almost got fired. Fortunately, I awakened my superpower at the critical moment. Saola, what ability? Extremely thick-skinned, extremely courageous, extremely stupid. Li Luyao, ha 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 ha, I'm sorry, I awakened the strengthening superpower. Saola, wow, it turns out to be the legendary E-class exclusive superpower. You are really a genius carrot underscore carrot. Li Luyao, don't be so weird, I'm going to take the superpower identification test. Is the test difficult? Do you need to prepare anything in advance? Saola, let me think about it. It seems like you are going to the research center for a comprehensive physical examination to demonstrate your abilities. After discussion, several scientists will give you a specific rating and give you a certificate. From now on, you will be recorded in the record. The family has superpowers. Li Luyao, is it that simple? Saola, otherwise, what do you think? What can you prepare for this kind of thing? You will know if you have superpowers by showing off your skills. Li Luyao, What you said is, sign up for me, I will participate in 3 days. Saola, you don't have the skills yourself. Li Luyao, I have hands but I don't have a computer. Of course I have to ask you for help with this kind of thing. Saola, get out. Li Luyao smiled and ended the note meeting unilaterally. After teasing his deskmate, he calmed down a lot and knew what to do next. He will definitely take the superpower identification test, and he doesn't want to miss the college entrance examination in a month. Although he has awakened the most powerful superpower in history, he has no intention of finding a cave to live in for 100 years and then emerge invincible in the world. How boring that would be. It's still the fun of youthful and energetic campus. There are many fools, many buddies, many girls, and many school belles. With the golden finger, there is no doubt that he can avenge his shame and return to a perfect campus life. However, considering the growth function of his superpower, it is reasonable to say that it will become stronger as he progresses to the later stage. If he takes the appraisal test now, his rating may be worrying, and he may even be suspected. But just now, I coolly told my class teacher to say harsh words and promised to get the certificate within 3 days. To go back on my words now is not in line with the character of an excellent protagonist. Hey, if I had known earlier, I would have said it for a month. Anyway, I just need to get the certificate before the college entrance examination. I am really cheating myself. Li Luyao smiled bitterly and then put his worries behind him. In any case, a big stone in my heart finally fell to the ground, making people feel relaxed and comfortable that they had not seen for a long time. After all, in the past 3 years, he has been thinking about his awakening all the time. His nerves are tense every day, and he has no time to enjoy the wonderful campus life. Suddenly, he is freed from this high-intensity tension, and every inch of his skin and every pore all radiating joy. Don't think about anything, just stay up late today and see how strong you will be after early morning. At 9 o'clock in the evening self-study ends. Li Luyao bought 2 sausages and 1 chicken fillet in the night cafeteria. He passed by the supermarket and bought a bottle of Coke, and returned to the dormitory satisfied. Dormitory 302 was deserted. In a dormitory that could have accommodated 4 people, he was alone most of the time. The roommates who were unfortunate enough to be assigned here would always find various reasons to move out. Although they didn't explain it clearly, Li Luyao also knew that they all disliked him, and no one wanted to live in the same dormitory with a poor guy. Speaking of which, Saola has been with him the longest, but that guy has a good family background. After awakening his superpower, his parents bought him an apartment outside the school and moved out. Originally, Saola warmly invited him to live with him, but Li Luyao got used to it and felt that it was quite comfortable to enjoy an 8-person dormitory by himself, so he refused. After happily finishing his supper, Li Luyao found his cell phone from under his pillow. Nominally, students are not allowed to bring mobile phones in the school, but they are quite safe in the dormitory, and they don't have to worry about being caught by the people from the academic affairs office. I checked the superpower identification examination process online and found that it is much simpler than I imagined. You only need to bring your ID card to the identification center. Those with physical disabilities can even make an appointment for door-to-door service, which highlights a human touch. Li Luyao thought about it and did not sign up immediately. Anyway, there were still 3 days left. The top priority was to inspect the goods first and see the effect of improving the attribute panel. There were still 2 hours before dawn. In the past, this time was his night running time. When other students had gone to bed, he was still trying various ways to wake up. After working hard for 3 whole years, he rarely had some free time and could live a real campus life, but for a while he didn't know what to do. Play some games, watch some cartoons, looking for some cool websites. Watch videos of pretty girls for a while. Li Luyao was playing with his mobile phone idly, and half an hour passed before he knew it. When he reacted, he immediately felt heartbroken and felt that he was too degenerate. Even if he awakened his superpower, he couldn't just do nothing. What was the difference between this and salted fish? Even if you want to make salted fish, you have to make the saltiest salted fish that can jump. So he hid his cell phone, stretched, and decided to go to the playground to run a few laps to exercise, and then take a shower when he came back to inspect the goods. At 12 o'clock in the morning, Li Luyao was naked and wearing big pants, sitting cross-legged on the dormitory floor with his eyes closed, quietly waiting for a miracle to come. There was a soft, ding, sound, and the golden attribute panel appeared in front of you. Host: Li Luyao. Physique: 40. Strength: 46. Kung Fu: 30. Soul: 2. Huijin: 21. Fortune: 198. A magical power instantly filled the whole body, and the limbs and bones shook involuntarily. The whole person was enveloped in a faint golden light, and a wonderful fragrance filled the dark and deserted room. Li Luyao suddenly opened his eyes. An invisible strong wind made the windows and wooden doors creak. The next moment, the double iron bed frames on both sides began to shake. The whole room seemed to be experiencing an earthquake, with faint signs of collapse. Li Luyao was startled, and quickly waved his hand to disperse the strong wind, and then his face showed ecstasy. That's right, the system did not lie to me. While all attributes were doubled, his strength was also enhanced. He felt that his limbs had become stronger and stronger, his clenched fist could kill a tiger like Wusong, and his steps were light and agile and could surpass the best basketball and football players. And the divine soul, that is, the legendary mental power, perception, and spiritual power fluctuations have become more acute. The strong wind that was stirred up just as soon as I opened my eyes is the power of the divine soul. As for Huijin, Li Luyao hasn't found much use for the time being. After all, intelligence and understanding are unclear, and he can't suddenly become the smartest person in the world. He just vaguely feels that his mind is clear and his heart is as calm as a mirror. There is a kind of peace that comes from deep within. The last fortune with the highest attributes, there is no doubt that he is definitely the luckiest person in history to be able to awaken such an awesome system. Li Luyao came to the window and laughed loudly. The laughter was full of endless joy and pride. The sound echoed in the campus, startling countless voice-activated sensor lights and lighting up the night sky. That night, students from Yingchuan Qi High School had the same dream. In a dream, a genius turned out to be the youngest SSS-level superpower in history. He was worshipped by countless people and sought after by countless people. Many years later, he is still a legend that people talk about. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Li Luyao woke up on time. Although he only slept for less than 3 hours, he was still full of energy and had no side effects from staying up late. Feeling the benefits of having a double body, Li Luyao went to the cafeteria early to buy a few big meat buns and hummed a little tune before heading to the teaching building. The morning self-study didn't start until 7 o'clock, and Li Luyao came to the classroom half an hour early, which didn't look like a lazy person at all. Ignoring the looks from the classmates around him, he planned to ask for leave from his homeroom teacher, Lao Yuan, to take the superpower identification test as soon as he arrived. After careful consideration last night, he felt that this matter should be settled as soon as possible. After all, his infinite attributes are too terrifying. If he really delayed it for a few days, he would probably have a superhuman physique. When the time comes, where will you stop? Won't you be taken away by the National Superpower Organization and put under intensive protection in a matter of seconds? Then I wouldn't be able to stay in school. Young people have to live the lives of young people. They don't want to become a nationally protected animal and be studied by scientists. Just as I was thinking about something, I suddenly heard several familiar scolding sounds coming from outside the classroom. Li Luyao knew that it was the group of campus bullies who had started to do evil again. Those muscular men teased female classmates and bullied their male compatriots every day. Li Luyao also suffered from it and fought with them. Since then, those guys I didn't continue to pester him. Little fool, I promised to bring it today. Hey, I'm so sorry. It's not the end of the month. I've run out of living expenses. Can I postpone it for a few days? How many days of reprieve? Do you think it's a reprieve? You don't know what will happen if you don't pay the protection fee. Believe it or not, you won't even be able to take the college entrance examination. No, I never thought about defaulting on my debt, it's just. The sound gets smaller and smaller from near to far, until it is completely inaudible. Li Luyao's 5 senses are now far beyond those of ordinary people. Even amid the sound of reading, he can still hear conversations outside. He frowned, stood up suddenly, and hurried out of the classroom. The disappearance of those voices meant that the speaker had gone further, either to the top floor or to the toilet. The reason why Li Luyao was so anxious was not to show off, but because he heard that the person being bullied was Saola. He walked toward the toilet against the crowd of people coming to class, and soon heard the conversation inside again. We agreed at the beginning, 1,000 for you and 1,000 for Li Luyao every month. If you pay on time, we won't trouble you. Otherwise, you won't be able to stay in this school. What do you think? If you want to take the college entrance examination, you don't have to submit it. Let me tell you, you have to submit it even when you get to university, do you understand? Brother, I understand. I don't want to default on the debt, but I'm really short of money this month. I paid my brothers 1,000, and I can pay my share next month as well. How about you beat me up to calm down? With a sound of, ah, Sao Li's cry of pain came from the toilet. If I want to beat you, I can beat you so hard that your mother won't even recognize you. I want money, do you understand? I'll give you 10 minutes, call home quickly, otherwise you won't be able to get out of here today. In the corridor, Li Luyao quickened his pace again. From a distance, he saw two sports students having fun outside the toilet. They were guys from the next class. One was named Gao Shang and the other was Yao Yuan. The two of them were tall and muscular, and they looked like people with enhanced abilities. They usually showed off their power in school like demon kings, and even the teachers didn't look down on them. They stood out as fools. Gao Shang saw Li Luyao and said coldly, "We are doing business here, get away." Li Luyao rushed over without even looking at them. "You don't have ears, do you?" Gao Shang threw out a punch, and Li Luyao kicked him in the crotch without thinking, with such force that he was kicked 3 meters away. The miserable screams frightened Yao Yuan so much that he did not dare to take action and immediately retreated. Li Luyao walked into the toilet and saw the chubby Saola being blocked in a corner and being beaten and kicked by 3 people, while their boss Da Huan was gloating on the side, drinking soy milk and eating fried dough sticks, as if this was not a toilet at all, but amusement park. "If you move your hand again, I will destroy you all." Li Luyao roared angrily, and the 3 people who were fighting stopped immediately and turned back to look at him. Yu Huan said angrily, "Hey, it's Sao Li's girlfriend here. Do you want to be a hero to save the beauty, or do you want to use money to redeem someone? Let me tell you in advance, I have no interest in men. It's useless for you to sell your butt." Quote, "I'm an idiot." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Luyao came directly in front of Yu Huan, punched him in the face and kicked him in the abdomen. His speed was incredibly fast, and his strength was far beyond that of a high school student. Yu Huan was startled by this sudden attack. Fortunately, his body was strong enough and he was fine even after being hit twice. Then he waved his hands and shouted, "Kill him." The 3 younger brothers rushed over together, but Li Luyao suddenly sighed. He originally wanted to use the first battle to awaken his superpower when facing an SSS-level beast, and then surprise everyone with one move. The reality is that he was forced to take action to kill the school gangster, and he was still in the toilet, which was really unlucky. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He flew one person with an Iron Mountain support, an elbow strike and a straight punch, and the remaining 2 were knocked over. Then he suddenly stretched out a big hand, grabbed Yu Huan's neck, and forcibly lifted him to the ground. In midair, he asked, "Are you convinced? Do you still want to fight?" Yu Huan was not willing to obey, so he cursed and said, "I obey your mother. You dare to attack me, do you know who my eldest brother is? It's no use even if your eldest brother is the king of heaven. Just spit out the money. My eldest brother is." Li Luyao didn't give him a chance to speak at all. He opened his bow from left to right and slapped him one after another, making a crackling sound. "I'm sorry. I'm your mother. I'm sorry, your uncle. Stop fighting. I'm convinced. I'm really convinced." Yu Huan seemed tall and tall, but at this moment he was handled like a little girl. He was soon beaten until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he kept begging for mercy. Saola couldn't stand it anymore and said weakly, "Luyao, if you don't forget it, it will be hard to explain if you really killed someone. Don't worry, I'm measured." Li Luyao waved his hand and threw Yu Huan to the ground, then stepped on his head and asked, "How much money have you received from Saola over the years?" Yu Huan screamed, "No, I didn't take the money. You still said no. Li Luyao kicked him in the head again, intending to vent his anger on his good brother, and said viciously, I will put my words here today, no matter how much money you collected, spit them all out to me. Otherwise, I will throw you away. The chicken shop sells butts. Do you understand? Give it, I'll give it all. Yu Huan immediately searched his clothes and took out several thousand yuan. I really don't know how many people this guy found to collect protection money. Li Luyao gave Sao Le a look. Keep it for now, then look for him later and return it slowly. Sao Le looked hesitant. Isn't this not good? We are really at odds with this fight today. The college entrance examination is about to take place. I'm afraid. Li Luyao patted his chest and promised, just rest assured, no one will dare to bully you with me in the future. After leaving the toilet, the class bell just rang. Lao Yuan, the head teacher, stood outside the classroom door, watching Li Luyao and Sao Le walking slowly with a look of disgust on his face. It's almost the college entrance examination and there's no urgency at all. I keep telling you that the stupid birds fly first, but you've never turned a deaf ear, right? Then he said to Sao Le, your grades are terrible for taking 3 exams. You hang out with Li Luyao every day. He doesn't even have superpowers. If you want to go to technical school with him, you can just drop out of school. It's a good match. Quote. Sao Le lowered his head and said nothing. Li Luyao said firmly, Teacher, can we go in? Lao Yuan was stunned for a moment and showed displeasure. What's your attitude? Li Luyao immediately said with a playful smile, didn't you say that the stupid bird flies first? I remembered that I still have a text that I haven't memorized, so I want to study hard as soon as possible. Go away. If you don't get the superpower qualification certificate within 3 days, I will fire you immediately. Lao Yuan waved his hand and let him go, and Li Luyao pulled Sao Le in. The sound of reading aloud came and went in the classroom, and Sao Le laughed in a low voice. You are a bit handsome today, you actually dare to challenge the class teacher. Li Luyao snorted. I've seen him unhappy a long time ago. I'll find a chance to beat him up after graduation. Sao Li's eyes immediately flashed. Take me with you when the time comes. I'll give you a break. That's all you can do. Li Luyao complained on the surface, but he was moved for no reason in his heart. During the past 3 years, he studied, exercised and explored methods of awakening, with almost no interruption. I used to think that I was poor and low achieving, so no one wanted to talk to him. Unexpectedly, Sao Le silently paid so much for him. When his years were quiet and free, someone was carrying the burden for him. If you think about it carefully, wouldn't someone like him who has neither a strong background nor the ability to fight be the perfect target for bullying? Even if those fools like Yu Huan can't extract any money from him, they will definitely cause trouble for him from time to time. Serving him tea and water, running errands, handing him cigarettes, and coercing him into becoming a younger brother are considered minor. Even if they beat him half to death, I'm afraid there will be no one. Stand up for him, not to mention the punishment the bully will receive. The more Li Luyao thought about it, the more he became afraid, and he patted Sao Le heavily on the shoulder. You have worked really hard these past 3 years, thank you. Sao Le was a little confused by this sudden affection. Li Luyao asked again, when did you help me pay the protection fee? Sao Le scratched his head. It was after you were beaten. Li Luyao remembered that it was all in the first year of high school, and couldn't help but be speechless. How did you get so much money? You must have earned tens of thousands in the past 3 years. Sao Le laughed, pretending to be relaxed and said, it's just some New Year's money and pocket money, you don't need to take it to heart. Li Luyao could only sigh. It seems that you have the ability to make money. Sao Le changed the topic and suggested, I think it's quite a bargain to buy a safe life with this money. If money hadn't been a bit tight recently, I wouldn't have let you know about this. Yu Huan's group of guys have a great background. We can't afford to offend him. Otherwise, let's just forget about it. The college entrance examination is still important right now. Li Luyao said unhappily. People are shitting on us, and you still speak for them. Do you have Stockholm Syndrome? Sao Le said in embarrassment. There are more than 100 athletes in total, how can we fight with them? I heard that their boss is a top student in the rockets class. It really pisses them off. We definitely can't stay in this school. Quote. Li Luyao disagreed. I couldn't stand those grandsons before, but now that I have awakened my superpowers, I don't even look down on those little brats, let alone the top students in the rockets class. Even if they are gangsters, you can still hit me. Saola sighed. If my superpower was as strong as yours, I would definitely be as tough. Is it possible that you have to toughen up before you can become stronger with superpowers? Well, Saola was poked in a sore spot and was very innocent. Li Luyao had to comfort him. Don't worry, I heard that there is a second awakening of superpowers. Although you can only summon some spiders and cockroaches now, say maybe we can directly summon the Tyrannosaurus mammoth in the future, right? Saola curled his lips, obviously not fooled by such a white lie, and went to review with a groan. The sparrow outside the window is talking too much on the telephone pole. What you said. When the bell rang for the morning self-study get out of class, the students left their seats and hurried to the cafeteria. Li Luyao ate several big meat buns in the morning and was not hungry at all. He turned to look at Saola. This guy actually fell asleep directly. He was really broad-minded and fat. No wonder he could become an excellent fat man. I was still thinking about whether to go to the class teacher to ask for leave, when suddenly a female classmate came over. Li Luyao, someone is looking for you outside. Li Luyao looked outside the classroom, and sure enough, there were a few guys sneaking around the door, and they looked like they were coming with bad intentions. Li Luyao understood the situation and walked out alone without disturbing Saola. You are Li Luyao, right? I heard that you beat up Yu Huan from class 3 this morning. A strange student with a slender figure, a monkey face, and wearing sportswear grinned at Li Luyao. Li Luyao crossed his arms and said politely, so what? The man smiled evilly and said, it's not that bad. Yingchuan High School has the rules of Yingchuan High School. No one from the physical education department can touch them, otherwise they won't give us face. Do you dare to go to the gymnasium with us? Li Luyao sneered. Want to fight again? You guys are really interesting. Don't go to the trouble and go to the top floor. The teaching building of Yingchuan High School is not high, only 6 floors. Even so, the top floor is a place prone to accidents and has never been open to students. The door leading to the top floor platform was locked tightly, but the group of sports students certainly didn't take it seriously. They quickly removed the lock with a twist of their hands, and a cool breeze blew in instantly. Li Luyao walked among the crowd without any intention of escaping. He stood forward carelessly and asked, how are you going to fight? One-on-one or group fight? Boxing or sparring? The leader was named Xu Chang. He found a pair of stainless steel finger tigers from the corner and put it on his fist. He said with a smile, the rules of our Yingchuan High School are unlimited fighting. We will beat you until you kowtow and beg for mercy and call daddy. You probably haven't seen this before. Li Luyao stretched out and said with a smile, we are just a bunch of brats and they are already so crazy. What if we really want to enter society? Okay, I will educate you on behalf of your parents. After speaking, Li Luyao took the lead in attacking. He flashed and disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he appeared behind Xu Chang and kicked his crotch mercilessly. This kick took a lot of force, and it would be impossible for a normal person to bear it. Unexpectedly, Xu Chang just grunted, feeling no pain at all, punched fiercely, and cursed, don't you know I have practiced the Vajra cover iron cloth shirt? You are tickling your father. Li Luyao easily avoided it, and then he realized that this guy turned out to be a defensive superpower. He was made of steel and iron, and ordinary fists and kicks really couldn't hurt him. Xu Chang chased after Li Luyao with punch after punch. He always liked to confront his opponents head-on and was not afraid of exchanging injuries for injuries. But Li Luyao was like a loach, just dodging and no longer attacking. Intention. Don't run away if you have the guts. Unknowingly, the two of them came to the edge of the railing. Li Luyao suddenly tripped Xu Chang to the ground with a sweeping kick. Then he picked up his ankle with one hand and gave him a hard swing. He was thrown out of the railing and hung upside down in midair. Put me down quickly, I'm afraid of heights, save me, save me. Xu Chang was so frightened that he shouted for help, and the others immediately rushed towards Li Luyao. Li Luyao turned around and glared at everyone, and cursed, you have no brains. Believe it or not, I will let go and throw this idiot to death. When everyone heard this, they immediately stopped and stopped coming forward. One person said, "Don't mess around. This is a school. If you throw him down, you will definitely go to jail." Another person echoed, "That's right, don't kill anyone. It's not good for everyone. Put down the hadron." Shu Chang also shouted, "Let me down quickly, and I will be your ancestor for 18 generations." Li Luyao said happily, "You are the ones who want to fight, and you are the ones begging for mercy now. What did you say about the rules of Yingchuan High School just now?" Everyone was silent, except Shu Chang, who kept cursing. Li Luyao had no choice but to remind, "If you admit defeat, kneel down and call daddy. You choose life or death." Shu Chang said harshly, "I call you mom, even if you throw me down, I won't die. I am an iron wall, do you know that?" "Oh, really? How about we give it a try?" Li Luyao suddenly let go and immediately caught it. The brief weightlessness frightened Shu Chang so much that he peed his pants and could no longer speak a complete sentence. Li Luyao smelled the irritation and immediately lost interest. Just as he was about to pull him over, the door was suddenly kicked open and a tall, strong man walked over. "Hello, boss. Boss, why are you here? Boss, please save Chinxi, he." Li Luyao turned around and saw that the man was wearing a basketball uniform and a sweatband on his forehead. He was nearly 1.8 meters tall and had bulging tendons. He didn't look like a high school student no matter how he looked, but they were Ying chairman of the student union of Sichuan High School, Wu Qinggang. Of course Li Luyao knew about him. He was a legendary C-class superpower who was characterized by strengthened muscles throughout his body. He could punch up to 200 kilograms, which was close to the world heavy punch record. He was a key training target of Yingchuan High School and even the entire Yingchuan city. "Let him go and I'll meet you," Wu Qinggang said in a commanding tone. Li Luyao was unhappy when he heard this and asked, "Why?" Wu Qinggang said in a low voice, "Even if I am better than you, if you want to kill him, I will definitely not spare you." Li Luyao narrowed his eyes unconsciously. "Are you so sure you are better than me?" Wu Qinggang said confidently, "Yes, you just awakened your superpower yesterday. After all, you are just a beginner. How can you compare with me?" Li Luyao was inspired to fight and said provocatively, "What if I win? I will be the president of the student union." "Stop talking nonsense, you can't even catch my punch." After saying that, Wu Qinggang punched Li Luyao directly, regardless of Shu Chang's life or death. The huge fist hit his eyes with force. Li Luyao realized that the opponent in front of him was no ordinary person, so he had no choice but to throw Shu Chang into the roof with a wave of his hand, and then duck to avoid it. There was a loud bang, a hole was blown out of the stone fence, and rocks flew down. Li Luyao didn't even have time to be surprised, and he was hit with another heavy punch. "This person is stronger than me, how can I fight this?" Li Luyao protected his head with both hands and retreated steadily. He felt that this guy was superior to him in terms of body, strength, and speed. If he faced him head-on, he wouldn't be able to gain any advantage, at least not today. "You have to think of other ways." Li Luyao's head turned quickly, and he was about to be dodged by Wu Qinggang in the corner. He suddenly had an idea. Instead of retreating, he suddenly stepped forward and hugged his opponent from behind. He used all his strength to trip him to the ground, and then used not very proficient in ground skills. He stretched his hands forward to pass through the opponent's neck, bent his elbows to compress the aorta in the opponent's neck, and clasped his hands tightly to suppress it, trying to pin Wu Qinggang firmly under him. But although he had a good idea, the group of onlookers around him were not vegetarians. When they saw the elder brother being frustrated, they immediately rushed over. Li Luyao immediately scolded, "If you have the ability to fight one-on-one, what's the point of being surrounded and beaten? Whoever challenges you one-on-one, we always fight in groups." "That's right. If you can't beat me, you'll have to fight alone. If you can't beat me, of course you'll fight in a group." Li Luyao said angrily, "You guys are so shameless." Seeing everyone swarming up, Li Luyao didn't have any good ideas for a moment. He was planning on using the 36 strategies as his best plan. Suddenly, the door on the roof of the building was pushed open with a bang. Lao Yuan rushed in and saw many students fighting in a ball, so angry that he roared, "You're about to take the college entrance examination and you're still fighting. Do you all want to be expelled?" Xu Chang, Zhang Bin, Lu Wenhao, Zheng Jia, Li Luyao. Lao Yuan, the head teacher, called the names one by one like counting sheep, until he saw Wu Qinggang under Li Luyao. His expression became complicated. The dignified student union president was actually locked under the tail of a crane, unable to move, panting heavily like a black bear being ridden. If this word spreads out, I'm afraid no one will believe it. Lao Yuan wiped his eyes to confirm that he had seen correctly, and asked in disbelief, Wu Qinggang, why are you here? Wu Qinggang didn't say anything. When Li Luyao saw the reinforcements arriving, he immediately waved and shouted, Teacher, these people caught me on the roof and beat me around. Come and take care of me. But Lao Yuan seemed not to have heard anything, pointed at Li Luyao and said, Stop it all, you, get out of the way. Of course Li Luyao refused and insisted, if I let him go, he will definitely beat me again. Lao Yuan stamped his feet. Come to the academic affairs office with me, now and now. Seeing Lao Yuan lose his temper, the onlookers immediately left in despair. Li Luyao saw Saola and several other teachers hiding outside the door and peeking, knowing that today's fight should be over, so he let go and stood up. As soon as Wu Qinggang's restraints were released, he jumped up and wanted to take revenge. How could Li Luyao give him a chance? He immediately distanced himself and reminded, Classmate Wu, you don't want outsiders to know about the beating, right? It's a bit embarrassing for the dignified student union president to be deflated on the top floor. Wu Qinggang was so angry that he was filled with murderous intent. Just wait and see. Li Luyao smiled and said, Tonight at 12 o'clock, the football field, the grandson will not be here. Good. Wu Qinggang waved his hands and followed Lao Yuan. Li Luyao breathed a long sigh of relief and gave Saola a thumbs up. You are so timely, you actually called so many teachers over. How did you find us upstairs? Saola said with lingering fear. Xu Chang was hung upside down on the attic just now, and everyone in the school saw it. I knew someone was causing trouble for you as soon as I guessed it, and I saw Wu Qinggang going to the attic, so I went to find the teacher. Li Luyao patted his shoulder and said with a smile, It seems that you were really my lucky star. If you hadn't arrived in time, I would have been beaten half to death. Saola was concerned about other issues, and asked curiously, I see you just rode Wu Qinggang under your butt, can you beat him now? Before he finished speaking, Lao Yuan was heard roaring in the corridor, Stop whining and whining, come to the school office quickly. A moment later, the school affairs office. Wu Qinggang was let go halfway, and the physical education student who had just fought was also taken away by other teachers. In the empty office, only Li Luyao, the victim, was receiving criticism and education. Lao Yuan crossed his legs and poured himself a cup of tea. Tell me what's going on. Li Luyao explained the cause and effect, repeatedly emphasizing the evil behavior of those guys in collecting protection money in school. You said they asked you to collect protection money. You're not looking for me, you're looking for Saola and others. Since I'm not looking for you, what does it have to do with you? Saola is my brother. He helped me pay the protection fee for 3 years. Saola didn't come to complain. Why are you meddling in other people's business? Saola is my good brother, and his business is my business. Don't form cliques and call yourself brothers in front of me. I just saw you beating Wu Qinggang upstairs. They were the ones who struck first, and I fought back in self-defense. Do you know Wu Qinggang's background? Why do you beat him? Li Luyao took a long breath and gave up the communication. After this exchange of answers, he finally understood that Lao Yuan had never been on his side from the beginning, and it was even more impossible to give him justice. If he wants justice, he can only find it himself. After thinking about this, Li Luyao pulled out his chair and sat down, crossed his legs and said, Then what do you think we should do? Lao Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly, actually acquiescing to his rude behavior, and his tone calmed down. You are all responsible for this matter, so both sides will fight each other and not hold each other accountable. Don't mess around with what happened today. Pass, do you understand? Li Luyao understood what he meant. Isn't this horse riding just like making peace? Big things are reduced to small ones, and everything is focused on the overall situation. It's so boring, Li Luyao muttered and prepared to leave. Lao Yuan quickly wrote something on the paper and handed it to Li Luyao. This is your request for leave. Go take the superpower identification test today. Li Luyao was a little confused. Lao Yuan Shen said mysteriously. You can push Wu Qinggang to the ground and beat him, which shows that your superpower is really not weak. Go to the appraisal center and get a good score. Only then will your words have weight. Do you understand? Li Luyao didn't really want to understand, but he knew the difference between the tail of the crane and the proud man of heaven. When a crane driver conflicts with the favored person of heaven, normal people will of course believe the favored person of heaven. This is human nature, a stereotype, and something Li Luyao hates very much. Who says that the proud son of heaven can do everything right? As the president of the student union, that guy tacitly allowed those gangsters to collect protection money in the school. Is this kind of scum worthy of being the proud son of heaven? Since the school teachers all defend him, the matter will be resolved by itself. Anyway, I have already said harsh words, and I will see you at 12 o'clock tonight. By then, my strength will be doubled, and it will not be easy to beat him. As the saying goes, a gentleman takes revenge from morning to night, and tonight is definitely an auspicious day. Taking the leave request note, Li Luyao left the Academic Affairs Office building. There is no need to go back to the classroom for the time being, but I have to go and talk to Saola so as not to worry him. After doing this, Li Luyao went to the dormitory to get his mobile phone, and then walked towards the school gate in a swagger. Superpower Identification Center is here. The Yingchuan City Superpower Assessment Center is not located in the urban area, but in a remote suburb. As a special functional organization, it is naturally somewhat mysterious. In addition to superpower identification, it is also a national research center responsible for everything related to superpowers. After changing to the subway 3 times and riding a small green car for a while, Li Luyao finally arrived at his destination. What he saw in front of him was not 1 or 2 buildings, but an entire park. The so-called identification center was in an inconspicuous small building. After making an on-site appointment to sign up for the security check, Li Luyao quickly followed the crowd and walked in. There were men, women, old and young in the queue with him, most of them were adults. Only Li Luyao was wearing a school uniform and had a young face, which was very eye-catching. Suddenly, a middle-aged man in front of him turned his head and spoke to him. Hey, little brother, are you here to apply for a certificate? Li Luyao nodded. The uncle asked again, what superpower did you awaken? Li Luyao said, strengthening system. The enhanced system is not a good thing. These days, people with enhanced superpowers are no longer on the streets. Generally, their ratings are not high. The worst ones can't even pass the rating, and they can't even get the appraisal certificate. Isn't it? Li Luyao was stunned for a moment and began to worry. The uncle continued to scare him. You usually don't watch the news. Recently, all the gangsters on the street who have stronger legs and feet say that they are people with enhanced abilities. The country is already considering whether to cancel enhanced super abilities. Ability certified. Li Luyao scratched his head. He was usually in school, so how could he have time to surf the internet and read news? If his enhanced superpowers were decertified, wouldn't he be lonely? The uncle saw Li Luyao frowning, and finally said, I see that you have a unique skeleton, and you are the one chosen by heaven. I will take care of the superpower certification. I won't hide it. You said, I have acquaintances there, and you can apply for any level you want, ABCDE, SSS, SSS, it's up to you. Quote. Li Luyao smiled bitterly. There's so much foreshadowing, it turns out he's the one applying for the certificate. If I hadn't been so talented and intelligent, I would have been deceived by him. Li Luyao said deliberately, what's the price of the SSS level? The uncle held out a finger. I always start selling to others for 100,000 yuan, but I can make an exception and give you a preferential price, just 10,000 yuan. Good. Li Luyao readily agreed, and then when he saw a guard patrolling the side, he immediately shouted, Uncle Policeman, someone is selling fake certificates here. Before he finished speaking, the uncle turned around and ran away, cursing, you little fool, there is no justice in business, why don't you follow the rules of the world? The guard ran away after the uncle, and there was a lot of excitement in the park, attracting everyone to watch. Distracted by this little episode, Li Luyao's originally nervous mood calmed down and he no longer had any anxiety. After all, he was still confident in his own strength. As long as the other party knew his stuff, he would never have the slightest doubt about him. After a while, a female nurse called him. Li Luyao answered and walked quickly into the building. The corridor smelled of disinfectant, and the furnishings were no different from those of a hospital. Li Luyao first did a full physical examination under the guidance of the nurse. Blood tests, X-rays and brain CT scans took nearly 2 hours. Li Luyao was quietly waiting for the results in a small ward. Finally, a young doctor in a white coat came in with a pile of test sheets and said straight to the point, "Your physical fitness is not bad in all aspects, but there are no signs of awakening of superpowers. What kind of abilities do you think you have?" Li Luyao was not surprised by this result. Normally, people with superpowers would be accompanied by certain physical distortions after awakening, either in blood cells, bones, or brain neural networks. But Li Luyao's situation was different. His superpowers it is given by the infinite attribute system and is not within the rule framework of this world. It is reasonable that it could not be detected. Li Luyao thought about his words and said, "What I awakened is a strengthening superpower, which becomes 1,000,000,000 points stronger every day. How about doctor, please record my data first, and then I will come over and take another test tomorrow. You will know then. Aren't you just fooling around?" The doctor was a little impatient. As long as a superpower keeps training, of course he can become a little stronger every day. Are you sure you didn't just imagine your ability? After all, doctors are well informed. Real superpowers can be detected directly by their special instruments without even using their talents. And those who want to get certificates are all kinds of people. Some people say that they are particularly good at sleeping, eating, capable, and dreaming, and then they predict by divination that their wishes will turn into gold. Go. However, data will not falsify, and science will not lie. The high school student in front of me looks like he is not awakened. No matter what excuses he makes, it is useless. I understand your situation. Go back first. The assessment notice will be sent to you in a few days. Well, Li Luyao was stunned. Just by hearing this tone, he knew that the other party didn't believe him at all. After thinking about how to convince the doctor, Li Luyao felt troubled again. Do you want to show off your fists and memorize a leader's guide, or beat him on the spot to let him feel his ancient power? Hey, why don't you come back tomorrow? When the attributes are doubled tomorrow, it will be easy to tell whether the person has superpowers at a glance, so there is no need to bother like this. Li Luyao was about to get up when the doctor suddenly frowned and said, "The activity of your brain neurons is a little abnormal. Wait a moment, I will report to the supervisor." No, Li Luyao refused, but the doctor walked out quickly, completely ignoring him. Well, Li Luyao sighed and had no choice but to continue waiting in the room, thinking that being a guinea pig was really not a good experience. He must stay away from the doctors in the future and must not be locked up. Half an hour later, the door was suddenly pushed open. The wind blew in, and a young girl came in at the same time, as if she was blown in by the wind. I saw her wearing a white suit and skirt, with a graceful figure and a beautiful appearance. Her whole person exuded a cold aura that would make people thousands of miles away. The smell of vanilla blowing in the wind swept away the gloomy atmosphere in the ward, refreshing. You are Li Luyao, right? Hello, my name is Zhou Rongrong. Li Luyao was really stunned by the beautiful doctor in front of him, and said blankly, "Hello, doctor, I am Li Luyao." Zhou Rongrong corrected him seriously, "I'm not a doctor, I'm a doctor." After saying that, he immediately asked, "You said you were a person with enhanced abilities. How do you prove it?" How to prove it? Li Luyao started to have a headache again. Why did he go around and come back here? Simply ask, how did other people prove it? Zhou Rongrong raised her eyebrows. Your fists will get bigger, your muscles will get thicker, and your body will get longer. You can't do such simple things. Li Luyao was so angry that he was itching his teeth and said depressedly, "My superpower is not a circus thing. I will become twice as strong every day. This is the legendary SSS level. Believe it or not." Zhou Rongrong blinked and asked curiously, "Will it double and become stronger every day?" That's right. How do you know? Of course I know my own superpowers. Zhou Rongrong smiled with an unknown meaning and joked, "I have seen more people with superpowers than you have seen women. Don't even think about getting away with me." Li Luyao held his forehead, thinking that the people here are really difficult to deal with. Have to. If you don't leave me here, I'll have my own place to stay. We'll see you later. Li Luyao once again planned to run away, but Zhou Rongrong changed the topic and said, to be honest, my superpower is bull. Chalima horses often exist but bull does not. I can sense that you have indeed awakened extraordinary abilities, but if you can't prove it to me, I can't give you the appraisal certificate. Li Luyao said helplessly. Then let's do it tomorrow. You keep today's record. I will definitely make your jaw drop tomorrow. Your jaw dropped, right? Zhou Rongrong touched her chin and said with a smile, okay. Li Luyao, Class 2, Grade 3, Yingchuan High School, I will remember you. You better really remember it. Li Luyao complained and left this annoying place without looking back. It was already afternoon when he returned to school. Li Luyao had a leave application note in hand. He could have spent the whole day, but he really didn't have much to think about today, especially since he had to fight with others at night. He had to make sure nothing went wrong along the way. When he came to the classroom and saw that the chubby Saola was still alive, Li Luyao breathed a sigh of relief. Then he found that the classmates looked at him strangely. They were not looking at him with contempt, disdain, or disdain like before, but with curiosity, admiration, disbelief, and gloating. Li Luyao sat back at the desk and asked, what's going on? Why do everyone look at me like a monster? Saola secretly smiled and said, it's not because of the good things you did this morning. Do you know how many people came to the class to look for you today? Li Luyao was puzzled. Why are you looking for me? Are you looking for a fight? Saola couldn't stop laughing. I have been the chairman of the World Suffering Students Association for a long time, and now someone suddenly comes out to kill him. Of course everyone is curious. Li Luyao suddenly realized. It must be your kid who spread the news, right? Saola shook his head. I didn't say anything. In the morning, Xu Cheng was hung upside down on the top floor by many people. Later, Wu Qinggang and the others were called out by the teacher to parade, but it was lively again. You're parading around the streets, you're talking like a prisoner. Don't tell me, it's really like this. Later, many students came to our class to inquire, and the teacher was almost annoyed to death. Let me tell you, you are now a big celebrity in the school. Crane Tail counterattacked the favored one, and there are many plots. It's beautiful. Li Luyao said angrily. What's so interesting about a group of kids fighting? Then he added, guess what I just saw at the Superpower Identification Center? Only then did Saola remember this incident and asked curiously, did you get your appraisal certificate? What level is it? Li Luyao waved his hand. Not yet, probably tomorrow. I just saw a beautiful woman at the appraisal center, she's at the level of a fairy. Oh, what then? Then he has a bad temper and a poor brain. It's a pity. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Which school is it from? No, 3 middle school. Not a student. I told you she's a big beauty, not a kid. So you like mature women, I really can't tell. Li Luyao said with disdain. You are such a hot-blooded person that you have no interest in women. You should be the one with the problem, right? Saola said disapprovingly. I am only interested in two-dimensional beautiful girls. Real women are too troublesome and I really can't like them. Definitely. Li Luyao lay down on the desk and fell asleep directly. At dinner time, Saola took Li Luyao to the small private room on the 3rd floor of the cafeteria to eat hot pot. He suddenly had thousands of dollars in his hand, and he didn't want to spend it until it was too hot. Li Luyao didn't refuse. He was exhausted from running back and forth this day. His physical strength had improved, but he also needed more food supplies. The most intuitive manifestation was that he was hungry quickly and ate a lot. After 3 plates of beef, Li Luyao asked the waiter to serve rice. He ate like a starving man, which made Saola stunned for a while. I said, brother, have you just come out of the labor camp? You are hungry for food like an animal. You don't understand. People are like iron, rice and steel. If you don't eat even one meal, you will feel hungry. I didn't eat at noon, and I almost fainted from hunger when I came back in the evening. Tisk, 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 aren't you usually able to resist hunger? Why have you suddenly changed so much? Maybe this is a side effect of superpowers. Boss, please add another shrimp paste. My old swan, who can afford to support you after you step on the horse? After a full meal, Li Luyao came out of the cafeteria hiccuping. Under the night, a burly sports student came over quickly. Saula shrank back in fear, but the man didn't mean any harm and said straight to the point. Our president said that the meeting place in the evening will be changed to the gymnasium and we will have evening self-study. Just start. Li Luyao glanced at him, playing with his toothpicks, and said unhappily, you can change the location, but you can't change the time. I said 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. The man added, the president of my family also said that many people will come by then. If you make him lose face today, he will beat you up in front of all the teachers and students in the school, and he will also take a video and post it online. Li Luyao shrugged. I don't care, don't lose my wife and lose the troops when the time comes, so that he can't step down. The man said nothing more and turned around and left. Saula hid behind Li Luyao and said worriedly, are you really going to fight tonight? Li Luyao nodded. Yes, hit with one punch to avoid 100 punches. The rules of Yingchuan High School should change. 11:30 p.m. Saula climbed over the wall and came to Li Luyao's dormitory. This battle tonight was of great importance, and of course he would not miss it. No matter what the outcome, he would cheer for his brother to the end. When he walked in, he saw Li Luyao lying on the bed, enjoying himself playing games, without any sense of nervousness at all. Saula stamped his feet angrily. How long has it been, and you are still in the mood to play games? If you lose today, you will never be able to hold your head high again in Yingchuan Middle School. Li Luyao turned over on the bed. Isn't it time yet? Why are you in such a hurry? Wait until I finish this fight. Saula rolled his eyes at him. Then you have to check out the spots first. If they set some ambush trap in the gym, you will suffer a big loss. Li Luyao didn't even raise his head. It will be broadcast live later. If they do any tricks, won't they make people laugh? I heard that the real masters are always the last to appear. You don't understand at all. Quote. Saula was still as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. When I first came here, I went to the gymnasium and walked around. There were many people sneaking around and hiding inside. Even the school security guards were bribed. No matter what the punishment is today, so no one will come to save us. Are you sure you can defeat Wu Qinggang? If not, we still have time to escape. Quote. Li Luyao finally put down his mobile phone and said leisurely, don't worry, when the morning passes, I will be incredibly strong and I will never be the same person again. Saula was dubious. Really? Let me tell you, there is an old man in our village who is over 80 years old and has inconvenient legs and feet. He makes a living by weaving baskets. One summer vacation, his grandson went to the countryside to play on vacation and saw his grandfather weaving. I also learned how to make baskets. He was still very good at everything when he was still in primary school. He could weave anything with just a picture. After he had done it, he showed it to his grandpa, and his grandpa said that my grandson is really good at weaving. Li Luyao was amused. I'll lie to you that I'm my grandson. I'm really impressed with you. Let's go now. When the two left the dormitory door was closed long ago, and they could only climb down from the second floor. The campus is very quiet at night. Street lights scattered everywhere illuminate a corner of the night sky. The footsteps of patrolling security guards can be heard faintly in the distance. The crisp air exudes a sense of adventure. Go this way. Li Luyao took Saula for a long detour, avoiding classmates in the grass and security guards he might encounter. After a while, the two of them arrived outside the gymnasium. The school's indoor gymnasium is not big. It usually only plays some badminton, volleyball, and basketball sports, and the number of spectators it can accommodate is limited. Li Luyao walked around the door and found that the door was closed. Many sneaky students entered through the side door. Most of them were sports students and some bold and cautious people. Occasionally, they bumped into a few students from other schools. Everyone had a tacit understanding. Without saying a word, they each found a secret corner to hide. Suddenly, the lights in the gymnasium were turned on, then turned off quickly, and then a faint light lit up, and someone whispered. The boss is here. The boss has entered the scene. What time is it now? Is the boy named Li here? It's 11:50, it starts soon. A huge crowd poured into the gymnasium. This fight was held without the knowledge of all the teachers in the school. If they were caught, they would be criticized at least, or expelled from the school at worst. But because of this, everyone has the excitement of dancing on the tip of a knife, as if they are performing some great feat, and even just watching it with their own eyes can become a great talking point in the future. Saola pulled Li Luyao's sleeve and asked, "Shall we go in too?" Li Luyao, determined that the time was almost up, put his peaked cap on his head, nodded and said, "Let's go, it's time for the protagonist to appear." Walking into the stadium from the side door, passing through a dark corridor, the lights in front were looming. As I walked closer, I realized that the lights were produced by enthusiastic people on their mobile phones, just like a midnight concert. Li Luyao smiled slightly and walked quickly to the center of the venue. Under the spotlight, Wu Qinggang had been waiting for a long time. Wu Qinggang was still wearing the loose basketball uniform. When he saw Li Luyao, he immediately sneered, "I thought you didn't dare to come." Li Luyao shrugged. "Grandson won't come. Are you afraid of losing in such a big battle and not being able to step down?" Wu Qinggang said proudly, "I am going to Qingbei Superpower University, how can I lose to a guy like you?" Qingbei Superpower University. Li Luyao knew that this university was the top university in the country and even the world. It was the golden ivory tower that every high school student dreamed of. He heard that everyone who could get into this university was a proud man with sea-level superpowers. No upper limit. Wu Qinggang possesses rare sea-level abilities at a young age, and is indeed qualified to enter Qingbei University. However, this kind of thing cannot be bought with money at the wet market. In the final analysis, it still depends on the college entrance examination results. What's more, Qingbei University attaches great importance to the moral character of students with superpowers. Guys like Wu Qinggang will definitely not be able to pass the first test. I'm very curious, why do you, the chairman of the student union, allow the following students to collect protection money on campus? Wu Qinggang said expressionlessly, "The future must be a world where the strong are respected. I'm just letting these students in the ivory tower feel the dangers of society in advance. Everyone must learn a new way of survival. What's wrong with this?" Li Luyao was so angry that he laughed. "What the hell are you doing to bully others? The strong should protect the weak. What nonsense is the strong being respected? This is modern society, not your mother, fantasy world." Wu Qinggang said disdainfully, "Don't use your mediocre moral standards to define me. My father told me that the current society is in the midst of great changes, and in the future there will definitely be immortal superpowers. Those who rule the world. Sheep must have the consciousness to be sheep. Only by surrendering to the strong can you survive." Quote. Li Luyao said happily, "So you think you are among the strong? That's right. Very good. Today I will let you understand who is the strong one and who is the little sheep. I hope you can still stick to that bullshit theory that the strong are respected after you become the little sheep." Li Luyao rolled up his sleeves and shouted, "Dark blue. Add more." Chapter 11. At 12 o'clock in the morning, the alarm clock on the mobile phone rang on time. At the same time, there was a soft ding in Li Luyao's mind, and the golden attribute panel appeared in front of his eyes. Host: Li Luyao. Physique: 80. Strength: 92. Kung Fu: 60. Soul: 4. Huijin: 42. Fortune: 396. As expected, all attributes are doubled again. Li Luyao closed his eyes and felt the vigorous power pouring out of his body. His physique and strength have approached the limits of ordinary humans. Shenfa is a little slower, and there is still a lot of room for growth. The soul is still in the pitiful single digits, but it is a real improvement for him. Huijin couldn't see much effect for the time being, but his fortune was so high that it was ridiculously high. As the luckiest person in the world, he was curious about what good things were waiting for him in the future. Ha 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 ha. Li Luyao laughed happily and slowly opened his eyes. His pupils were shining with golden light, and his body was surrounded by an invisible force. His whole body was like an immortal descending to earth. His indescribable divine majesty made people dare not look directly at him. As the tranquil joy deep in his heart surged out, all the previous anger and dissatisfaction disappeared, and even the look he looked at Wu Qinggang became pity. Yes, it's just a child's family, so what big truth can be said? I kept arguing with him, but it made me look petty. Instead of wasting words, let him see what a real strong person is. Li Luyao waved to him and said, "Go ahead, I'll give you 100 moves." Quote. Wu Qinggang simply suspected that he had heard wrongly and said angrily, "You kid, don't be too arrogant, I will make you kowtow and call me daddy later." Boring. Li Luyao flicked his fingers, and a strong wind immediately shot out and hit the door directly in front of him. Ouch! Wu Qinggang felt a heavy blow on his forehead, the force almost made him faint. He covered his head and took several steps back before stopping, with a very complicated look on his face, and cursed, "Aren't you a person with enhanced abilities? How can you use elemental attacks?" Li Luyao sneered, "It's really boring to fight with children. If you don't take it seriously, believe it or not, you won't even have a chance to shoot." "Oh shit," Wu Qinggang cursed, and then he used his special skill. Veins popped up all over his body, and he strengthened his muscles to the extreme. His original height of 1.8 meters suddenly increased to 2 meters tall, and his hands and feet were as thick as stone pillars. A giant die. The huge body collided, and every step it took caused the floor beneath its feet to roar, almost like the aftermath of an earthquake. The spotlight above his head kept moving along with his steps, and the cell phone camera that was filming also completely recorded his every move. As he punched out, everyone had an idea for no reason. Today's fight might not only involve victory or defeat, but also life and death. Li Luyao, a thin and small man, would probably be hit by this punch. He will die on the spot. Saola stared at Li Luyao closely. Seeing that he had no intention of avoiding him, he immediately shouted worriedly, "Get away quickly, Luyao." When Li Luyao heard his cry, he still had time to turn around and smile at him. And right in the middle of this flash of lightning, a giant fist with a power of up to 200 kilograms hit him head on. A dazzling wind blew up his hair and was about to smash his head to pieces. There was a soft, sound. It's like a silver vase being broken, or a piece of clothing being ripped apart. Under the gaze of everyone, Li Luyao stretched out one hand and directly caught the giant fist. Then he swung back hard, threw Wu Qinggang over his shoulder, lifted him up high, and then hit him behind him. Boom 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 boom. The giant-like body hit the floor of the arena, causing a hole in the ground. Countless wooden sticks and gravel flew everywhere, and dust covered the sky. Only a few lucky ones with sharp eyes saw Li Luyao dodge and ride towards him. Wu Qinggang hit him with his fist. "Who is the little sheep? Who is the little sheep? Who is the little sheep?" Li Luyao punched Wu Qinggang so hard that he vomited out his dinner. Exclamations, strange screams, cheers, and bewilderments exploded in the stadium at the same time. Some people are taking pictures, some are videotaping, and some want to get closer to see clearly. The students who were live broadcasting had turned off their devices long ago. The king in their eyes was being unilaterally beaten by an unknown crane tail. Even if you see this kind of thing with your own eyes, it is difficult to believe it, but the fact is so nakedly presented in front of you that there is no doubt. Stop fighting, don't fight anymore. Hey, will anyone be killed if we continue to fight like this? Why don't we call the police? If I want to repay you, go to yourself and don't say you know me. Wu Qinggang is so strong that he cannot be easily injured. He is a legendary C-level superpower. The legendary C-class superpower is now being unilaterally beaten. So what rank do you think the guy named Li is? Is it class B? No, this kind of crushing power is at least a level or above. A level or above? Why didn't you say you were an S-level expert? It's not impossible. If he really is an S-class superpower, then we are witnessing history now. Yingchuan High School. No, the first S-class strongman in the entire Yingchuan city was born. He will definitely dominate tomorrow. It was a hot search and made the front page headlines of all newspapers. Amidst the noisy discussion, Li Luyao finally ended this child's playhouse battle. He stood there with his arms folded across his chest. Wu Qinggang, who looked like a giant, looked like a child who had made a mistake and did not dare to raise his head to face his parents. Li Luyao asked condescendingly, "Are you convinced?" Wu Qinggang stared at the floor dejectedly, unable to say a word. Li Luyao continued, "Tomorrow, let Yu Huan and his gang spit out all the protection money they have collected over the years. Do you understand?" Wu Qinggang nodded and asked reluctantly, "What type of ability user are you? What level are you?" Li Luyao shrugged. "I've said it 100 times, I'm also a person with enhanced abilities. As for what level 1M, I don't know, the appraisal certificate hasn't been issued yet. After saying that, he waved his hands to the crowd of onlookers. Let's all disperse. The teachers are already at the door and preparing to arrest people. Everyone can run away according to their own abilities. I will leave first. Outside the gymnasium, Lao Zhang, the director of the Academic Affairs Office, was guarding the side door with a group of security guards. He went back to sleep early after school today. In the middle of the night, he suddenly received a call saying that the leader of the Superpower administration would come to guide the work tomorrow and asked him to prepare the documents in advance, so he had to come to school reluctantly. I originally planned to take the documents and leave, but then I saw the lights in the gymnasium suddenly turned on for a moment, and there was a faint noise coming from there. I asked people to come over and take a look, and they immediately yelled that it was bad. There was actually a large group of schools fighting in the gymnasium in the middle of the night. It's like eating the heart of a bear and the courage of a leopard. He has taught in Yingchuan Middle School for so many years, and he has never seen anything so outrageous. If word of this fight spreads, Yingchuan Middle School's reputation will definitely be tarnished. He, the director of the Academic Affairs Office, will definitely be dismissed directly. Lao Zhang broke out in a cold sweat, took out the phone tremblingly and started calling people. All the security guards, regardless of whether they were on vacation or not, gathered outside the gymnasium. They formed a large net on the 3 floors inside and outside, and they were bound to catch all the students in one go. The melon-eating crowd in the gymnasium did not realize that the crisis was coming because the competition was too fierce. Only Li Luyao, who had excellent hearing, discovered some clues and kindly reminded him. "What? Is there a teacher outside? I didn't hear anything. I'm very familiar with the security captain. I told him in advance today not to come here. If something happens, he sent me a message and I didn't see it. Director of the Academic Affairs Office, they really brought people to arrest us. That's just a piece of cake. Run away. Where to run? The outside is already surrounded. If you go out, don't you risk yourself in a trap. Is there any brother who knows how to dig a hole in the ground? Let's dig an underground passage to get out. You want to eat shit? I know a path. Everyone follow me." The melon-eating crowd dispersed like a swarm. In the chaos, Li Luyao came to Saola and grabbed his arm. "Follow me." When Saola saw him running toward the gate, he immediately reminded him, "Brother, that's a dead end over there." Li Luyao ignored him, kicked open the iron gate with a kick, causing dust to fill the sky, then carried Saola on his back and rushed into the night. When Lao Zhang saw someone coming out in the chaos, he immediately waved his hands and shouted, "Someone is coming out, catch him quickly." More than a dozen security guards chased him out, only to return disgraced a moment later. "Director, I'm sorry, that guy is running too fast, we really can't catch up." Lao Zhang asked. "Did you see what he looked like? Did you take a photo with your mobile phone?" The security guard replied. It seems to have 2 legs, 4 hands, a round head, and a fat body." Lao Zhang was so angry that he was incoherent. "I asked you what you look like, not what your figure is. Don't you have mobile phones? Do you want me to teach you how to take pictures? The security guard had an idea and shouted, "Director, look quickly, there are many students running out over there." "Kill me." "No, go ahead, catch all these little fools." That night, Yingchuan High School was noisy and lively, and the arrest operation lasted the whole night from midnight to early morning. The teenagers who were lucky enough to participate in the activity still have an unforgettable impression of this experience even many years later. On the other side, Li Luyao, the instigator, had already led Saola over the wall and out of the campus. As for why he had to leave school, Li Luyao had a confident reason. He is hungry again. Although he didn't expend much energy in the fight just now, his stomach has been growling since his attributes doubled in the early morning, and his mind is full of thinking about what to eat later. I was nauseated by Wu Qinggang's vomit for a while, and temporarily lost my appetite. After everything settled, my raging appetite immediately came back, and I almost rolled on the ground. Let's go have barbecue. Which barbecue restaurant nearby is delicious? Can you recommend it? What? Sao Li's eyes widened. I haven't digested the hot pot tonight yet. Why are you hungry again? Hey, it's not because of this superpower. Li Luyao pretended to be embarrassed. Since I awakened my superpower, my body has been getting worse day by day. I really can't exert any strength without feeding my stomach. Saula became even more angry. Are you interested in going to Versailles with me? If I had superpowers like yours, I wouldn't have to eat for a month. Li Luyao laughed and quickly explained. Hey, that's not what I meant. Walking around, I see there seems to be a barbecue stall in front of me. Let's eat and chat. How can there be a barbecue stall near the school in the middle of the night? Did you see it wrong? Saula put up the awning with his hands and looked forward, but saw nothing except a few street lights. Li Luyao couldn't say that his eyesight was amazing, so as not to be thought of as Versailles, he silently accelerated his pace towards his destination. 3 minutes later, Saula looked confused. There really is a barbecue stall. I haven't seen it before. It's newly opened. Li Luyao went to the freezer to get skewers. He ate whatever was available. He was not picky about food. He ordered almost every food in the store. In the end, he was worried that it was not enough, so he ordered a bowl of egg fried rice. You are a pig. No pig can eat as much as you. Saula complained loudly, not because he felt sorry for the money, but because something was wrong with Li Luyao, which made him a little worried. He heard that some people would suffer from severe schizophrenia after awakening their superpowers, which could range from self-inflicted suicide to serious harm to society. He didn't want Li Luyao to become like that. After ordering, Li Luyao smiled happily, poured Saula a glass of Coke, and said, I'm afraid you will spend a lot of money in the past few days. I will pay you back when my brother and I become successful. Saula waved his hand and said seriously, money is a trivial matter, as long as you are fine. Why are the side effects of your superpower so severe? Do I need to take you to see a doctor? Li Luyao's heart warmed and he said with a smile, I think it's okay. Don't those with enhanced abilities have a larger appetite? After all, they consume a lot of power. This is in line with the law of conservation of energy. Saula was dubious and muttered, I've never seen you like this. It's really disturbing. He took out his mobile phone and checked on the internet. Suddenly he saw the message in the class group and exclaimed, someone posted the video of your fight on the internet. Li Luyao didn't care much and said casually, I was prepared. Didn't you see that I'm wearing a peaked cap? It's so well covered that no one can recognize it. Saula gave him a look of contempt. There are so many witnesses, you think they are all blind. Li Luyao spread his hands. I don't admit it anyway. Saula asked curiously, you don't want to be famous? Don't want to be an internet celebrity? I don't want to. At least not now. I still want to take the college entrance examination and live a good college life. Becoming famous too early is not a good thing. I didn't expect you to be quite indifferent to fame and fortune. Saula said angrily, then thought for a while and then said, but it's true, people are afraid of being famous and pigs are afraid of being strong. If you really become famous, the group of reporters outside the school will annoy you to death. That is. Li Luyao stretched greatly and said leisurely, it is most comfortable to be a superman who is indifferent to fame and fortune and only interested in it. Bitterness, hatred, decisiveness in killing the whole family because of a disagreement only exist in novels and stories. I don't want to be a sociopath, I'm a pacifist with a strong heart. Just as he was talking, Li Luyao's phone suddenly rang, and the caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. Li Luyao hesitated for a moment, having a bad feeling in his heart, but still chose to connect. Hey, Li Luyao, right. I'm Joe Rongrong. We met at the appraisal center during the day. Li Luyao immediately thought of that cold, beautiful and unapproachable face. What's the matter? I know you haven't slept yet, so I'll inform you in advance that I will be the honorary principal of Yingchuan Middle School tomorrow. See you at our school. Li Luyao stood up in shock, but the person on the other end hung up the phone without giving him any chance to ask. Li Luyao's heart beat faster unconsciously, and the hair on his body stood up, feeling that some kind of danger was coming. There is no doubt that that guy is definitely coming for me. That guy must be coveting her beauty and wants to recruit him to be her hungry ghost under her skirt. I, Li Luyao, will never give in. Li Luyao doesn't know what the honorary principal is. I just intuitively realized that the guy was probably coming for me. Otherwise, why would she, a scientist from a superpower center, come to Yingchuan Middle School? to reminisce about the past and imagine the future. Li Luyao felt something was wrong when he thought about it. The feeling of being stared at was not very good. Although the other party was a beautiful woman, her focus was definitely on her superpower. If possible, he still hopes to live an ideal and peaceful life, and does not want to attract attention too early. If I had known better, I would not have gone to the appraisal center. I risked the system being discovered, did so many checks, and told so many lies, which attracted Zhou Rongrong's attention. If your infinite attribute panel is discovered. That's not right. So what if I'm discovered? There is no difference between my infinite attribute panel and my superpower, it is just a billion points stronger. As long as you can control your power and hide it, you can still be a superhero out of interest. Could it be that Zhou Rongrong could still lock herself in the laboratory? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. After thinking about this, Li Luyao finally felt a little relieved. Anyway, the soldiers will block the water and the earth will cover him up. I don't know how many people will covet his beauty in the future. Let's practice with this beauty first. After happily eating supper, Saola invited Li Luyao to spend the night at his place, and the two went home at night. Along the way, I looked through the chat records in the class group and discussed what fun we would have tomorrow. The night wind blew on my cheeks, and the air was full of joy. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Li Luyao woke up on time. Saola next to him was snoring loudly, still immersed in a sweet dream. Li Luyao was a little hungry, so he got up and went to the kitchen to cook egg noodles and feed himself first. As he was about to be late, Li Luyao took Saola, who was still awake, to the teaching building. When I came to the classroom with the bell ringing, my head teacher, Lao Yuan, had been waiting outside the door for a long time. "Good morning, teacher." "Good morning, teacher." The two of them acted seriously, as if nothing was wrong. When Lao Yuan saw these two guys, he became very angry. Early, late every day, how can there be students like you in my class? Saola, you go in first. Li Luyao, come over one time. Saola saw that Lao Yuan was in a bad mood, so he quietly made a face and ran away. Li Luyao followed Lao Yuan to the fence and waited for a lecture. Lao Yuan calmed down a little and gave him a meaningful look. "You were the one who fought with Wu Qinggang last night, right?" Li Luyao scratched his head and pretended to be stupid. "Teacher, what are you talking about? I can't understand a word." Lao Yuan suddenly became angry, but suppressed it again, frowning and saying, "If you can defeat the C-class superpowers in our school, I admit that you do have two skills. However, don't think that I can wear a peaked cap. I can't recognize you anymore. I can still recognize you even if you turn into ashes." Li Luyao smiled bitterly. "Teacher, we don't have any deep hatred, right? You don't need to pay so much attention to me. How did you escape yesterday? I slept at Sao Li's house yesterday. If you don't believe me, you can ask him." The Academic Affairs Office arrested more than 40 people, including Wu Qinggang, the chairman of the student union. Everyone except him must be severely punished. Why doesn't Wu Qinggang use it? Just because he is the president of the student union? No, because he took the blame and resigned and has already voluntarily resigned from his position in the student union. Then he really lost his army at the expense of his wife. The people from the Academic Affairs Office will come to see you after class. If you don't want to be expelled, just tell the truth. Well, don't worry, teacher. I left the school yesterday without permission and am willing to accept the punishment. Li Luyao, you kid. I'm helping you now, understand? Lao Yuan was so angry that he was furious, but Li Luyao didn't appreciate it at all. He kept pretending to be confused and didn't take it seriously. Go away. If something happens later, don't come crying and begging me. Lao Yuan cursed and drove Li Luyao away. His high blood pressure, which he hadn't suffered for a long time, broke out and he hurried to the office to take medicine. Li Luyao returned to the classroom humming a little tune. All the students immediately paid attention to him and cast curious glances at him. What are you looking at and study on your own? Li Luyao calmly sat down on his seat, and Saola immediately gave him a thumbs up. Awesome, my brother, you just made Lao Yuan half angry to death. Li Luyao smiled and said, have you heard this too? Lao Yuan was lecturing you just now, and everyone in the class fell silent just to listen to your chat. Ha ha ha, it's so fun. Li Luyao said helplessly. Lao Yuan is having an easy time, but he has to go to the academic affairs office later. It's not easy to fool him there. Cao Liman said indifferently. Then what's the difficulty? Just be brave and tell them that Wu Qinggang was defeated by you. From now on, you will be the #1 person in Yingchuan Middle School, and they are not allowed to imprison you. I'm not a bodhisattva. I'm not interested in being worshipped. Just as he was talking, the sound of reading in the classroom suddenly fell silent, and a stranger walked in. That person was wearing a purple dress, with long flowing hair and a beautiful appearance. She wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. As she walked, she pulled her long hair back into a high ponytail. She raised her hands and feet with grace. She was more elegant than all the female teachers in the school put together. They are all half higher than Lao Yuan. The boys in the classroom were all stunned, and the girls were ashamed of themselves, wondering why such a fairy-like beauty would appear here. Seeing that everyone was as quiet as a chicken, the fairy took the initiative to say hello. Hello, classmates, my name is Zhou Rongrong, and from now on I am the honorary principal of Yingchuan Middle School. ... There was silence and silence. Only Brother Chun, the monitor, bravely shouted, "Hello, principal." Zhou Rongrong corrected her. "Don't call me principal, just call me teacher." So all the students shouted, "Hello, teacher." Zhou Rongrong suddenly smiled tenderly. Her beautiful eyebrows were as crescent-shaped, showing a bit of a little daughter's attitude. She waved her hand towards the dazed students. "Just study, don't pay attention to me." Then he looked at the corner and said, "Li Luyao, come out." "Li Luyao, you are not a human. Why don't you introduce such a beautiful woman to me?" Saola was heartbroken. Isn't such a living fairy 1,000 times better than the two-dimensional paper man's wife? It doesn't matter that this guy Li Luyao has awakened such a powerful superpower, but he actually has such an affair. I'm really angry. Li Luyao put his hands on his forehead. I told you yesterday, you just didn't pay attention. Saola was so anxious that he asked again and again, "How do you know each other? She is not your half-sister, is she? Please tell the truth." Li Luyao said casually, "I met her yesterday at the Superpower Appraisal Center. She still doesn't believe in my abilities. Don't look at her beauty. This guy is cold and hard to get along with." Saola couldn't believe it. How is that possible? Didn't you see how beautifully she smiled just now? I have never seen anyone smile like that. What the book said, it's called a spring breeze that melts ice and snow. I feel like I'm going to fall in love. I think you are in heat. Li Luyao was too lazy to answer. Teacher Zhou is calling you out. Why are you standing here? Go quickly. Don't keep her waiting. You are so arrogant. That guy is definitely up to no good when he comes to me. If you go out instead of me, just say I'm not feeling well. Okay, then I'll go. Saola was so happy that he ran out in a hurry, attracting envious eyes. I saw him chatting with Zhou Rongrong outside for less than 3 minutes, and then returned to the classroom in disgrace, with a look of shattered dreams. Teacher Zhou asked you to go see her. Oh, what else did she say? Saola lay down on the table and said gloomily, she said she didn't want to talk to E-class superpowers. She asked me to study hard and get into a good university. In the future, I can go home, inherit the family business, and save the world. Things like this are not suitable for me. ... Li Luyao almost laughed out loud, and said angrily, that's too much. Who said E-class superpowers can't save the world? She is also an honorary principal after all, so how can she say something so hurtful? Saola sighed. I think Teacher Zhou is right. How about I drop out of school tomorrow and go home to do business? Superpowers and stuff like that may not be suitable for me. No. Li Luyao stood up immediately. I'll go find her to comment. Ask her to come back and apologize to you. With that said, Li Luyao left the classroom in a hurry. Outside the gate, Zhou Rongrong, who was looking at the scenery, glanced back at him and scolded him. Why are you acting like a girl and having to shout several times before you will come out? Li Luyao didn't answer and asked instead, you just spoke too much to Saola. How could you hit someone so hard? Oh, so that little fat guy's name is Saola. ... There are tens of thousands of people with summoning ability, but only a handful of them are capable of combat. There is not one summoning person above S level. This kind of ability is just for fun. What's wrong with me saying that? Mosquitoes, no matter how small they are still meat. Just because they don't exist now doesn't mean they won't exist in the future. I think people with summoning abilities have infinite potential, but no one has developed them properly. Really? Then you are really an optimist. We will talk about such small things later. I am here with a mission today. Follow me. Li Luyao stood still, vaguely feeling that something bad was waiting for him. Zhou Rongrong urged, "Don't be so annoying. I'm just giving you an ability test. I'm not trying to eat you. Am I that scary?" Li Luyao couldn't refuse and could only follow him honestly. Zhou Rongrong had obviously taken steps well in advance and reached the top floor with ease. The iron door on the attic is locked with 5 large locks, which makes it a key protection target at first glance. However, Zhou Rongrong only stretched out his fingers and touched it lightly, and the big locks opened silently, as if they had received some kind of instruction. What kind of superpower is this? Is it a special one? Li Luyao asked curiously. Zhou Rongrong, however, seemed not to hear and did not answer at all. In the early morning, there was noisy noise on the roof of the building. The morning breeze blew Zhou Rongrong's dress and hair, and spread the faint scent of grass, which made Li Luyao shiver. It's been a long time since I've been here. I think back then this was my lady's private territory. Zhou Rongrong was talking to herself, walking around on the rooftop platform, and then turned her attention to Li Luyao, and said calmly, "You are indeed much stronger today than yesterday. It seems that your superpower is better than what you said. Even more powerful." Li Luyao responded with silence, determined not to cooperate with her. Zhou Rongrong chuckled softly, and suddenly stretched out his right hand and made a point out of the air. Bright ice crystals formed on his fingertips, and then a silvery white light shot out, quickly forming a thick transparent ice wall in front of Li Luyao. Li Luyao was surprised. "Didn't you say that your superpower is bull? How can you control elements?" Zhou Rongrong asked back, "Who said a person can only have one superpower? You really have long hair but short knowledge." Li Luyao's face turned red from the rebuke. He is a legendary possessor of dual-type superpowers. He is a strong person above S level. How strong is this guy in front of him, and what rank does she belong to? Zhou Rongrong crossed her arms and said proudly, "You can try the strength of my ice wall, and I will give you a corresponding ability rating based on your specific results." "That's it." Li Luyao pointed at the ice wall in front of him, touched it with his hand, and found that it was indeed freezing cold. But he doesn't take a mere wall seriously. Even the methods of elemental ability users are still vulnerable to absolute power. "What if I break it with one punch?" Zhou Rongrong whistled. "Then you are an S level or above ability user. According to what you mean, only those with S level abilities and above can break this wall." "That's right. Hey, interesting." Li Luyao rolled up his sleeves, blew on his fist, and shouted, "Look at the fist." As soon as he finished speaking, he punched the ice wall hard, making a harsh friction sound. Seeing that the ice wall was motionless and quietly braving the cold air, Li Luyao retracted his fists and held them in his arms, cursing, "This horse is harder than a stone. Is this really ice?" Zhou Rongrong stared at him and said coldly, 0 points. Li Luyao was also disappointed and said, "Yes, it seems that I can only reach E level at most. Your ice wall is too hard." But Zhou Rongrong quickly walked up to him, pulled out his fist, and said angrily, "You didn't even deliver 1/10 of the force of that punch just now. You think you can fool me with this little trick?" Li Luyao chuckled. "Oh, you are wrong about this. I still spent 1/10 of my strength. Why don't you take a look again?" There was a soft, bang, sound. Zhou Rongrong suddenly turned around, only to see that the ice wall suddenly cracked from the middle, and cracks spread rapidly like spider webs, eventually swallowing up the entire ice wall and turning it into countless debris. Zhou Rongrong frowned slightly and said in disbelief, "One level of skill can break my ice wall, who are you?" Li Luyao still had a playful smile on his face, not serious at all. "I'm so sorry. I originally planned to hide it, but I failed. I'm like a firefly in the dark night, so eye-catching and dazzling, no matter how I hide it." Zhou Rongrong rolled her eyes and interrupted, "I admit that you have some strength, but you are only a little stronger than ordinary people. What is there to be proud of? Hey, that's not what you just said. Who asked me who I am just now? Zhou Rongrong felt a little embarrassed and quickly changed her words. You are indeed outstanding among high school students, but in the whole country and even the world, your superpower is not a big deal. Then he added, from today on, I am your super mentor. From now on, you are not allowed to use superpowers without my permission. Do you understand? Li Luyao was not a fool. How could he agree to such a rude request? He shouted, I don't want a mentor. Don't make decisions alone. Zhou Rongrong said angrily, what? A genius doctor like me is unwilling to be your mentor. Do you know how many people outside are begging and shouting to be my student? Li Luyao glanced at her and thought that the people outside were probably all greedy for her body. He was not the kind of person with low taste. In short, freedom is the bottom line. No one should try to restrict my personal freedom. Zhou Rongrong saw that this guy was not good enough, so he had to launch a tender strategy. Don't think too much, let me be your mentor, I can more fully develop your superpowers and save you a lot of detours. This is I'm protecting you, do you understand? Not understand. You are getting stronger day by day, and one day you will be targeted by bad guys. When the time comes, criminals will traffic you abroad, cut you into pieces and make specimens, and no one can save you. Don't scare me, I'm not a 3-year-old. Even if you are not targeted by criminals, if the government asks you to participate in scientific research, will you go? When the time comes, you will be asked to stay anonymously in a basement in a remote mountainous area for more than half a year. Will you agree or not? Well, this sentence touched Li Luyao's weakness. If the country needed his help, it would be difficult for him not to help. But if the price is to be kept in captivity by scientists, there is indeed some reluctance. Zhou Rongrong took advantage of the situation and continued to coerce and lure, I see that you are quite enjoying campus life. With my sister to protect you, you can live freely for a long time. Otherwise, a wild superpower like you will be managed sooner or later. The Bureau is shutting you down. Believe it or not, you will be a test subject in the research center tomorrow with just one phone call. Li Luyao curled his lips. If you push me too hard, then I will have to run away, to a place that none of you know. Zhou Rongrong reached out and touched his head, almost doting on him, and comforted him, where can you run away at such a young age? Your parents and family members all died in that disaster. Don't you want to avenge them? I know. Where is that demon hiding? Li Luyao was stunned, and many past events came to his mind. 3 years ago, an S-level disaster occurred in Linying County. A group of demons descended from the sky and almost destroyed the entire county. Li Luyao's family members all died in that unthinkable disaster. He was the only one who survived and became an unknown person from then on. A helpless orphan. Although many demons were killed afterwards, the SSS-level demon that was so powerful that it could destroy the world escaped and was never seen again. The reason why he is so desperately looking for a way to awaken is that the thought of avenging his parents is the driving force in his heart that has never wavered. At this moment, Zhou Rongrong said that she knew the whereabouts of the demon, which Li Luyao couldn't refuse. It seemed that this guy was really prepared and had done enough background checks. Li Luyao clenched his fists and asked, then, where is that guy? Zhou Rongrong shook his head. You are still too weak now. You are far from its opponent. If you are not fully prepared, it is best not to take action against it. Otherwise, you will only scare the snake and let it escape again. Li Luyao took a deep breath, knowing that what she said made sense. That SSS-level demon has been at the top of China's most wanted list for a long time. However, after so many years, there is still no news, which shows how powerful it is at hiding its whereabouts. Li Luyao thinks that he is not a match for that guy now. Maybe he will be able to fight in a month or two, but not now. If possible, he could not wait to kill that demon now. As long as he can get revenge, he is willing to do anything. Even if you become a demon yourself. As the anger deep in his heart spurted out, patches of red flames immediately appeared around his side, as if they were a concrete manifestation of his emotions. His power showed signs of being out of control, almost going crazy. Suddenly, Zhou Rongrong took the initiative to open her arms and gave him a firm hug. The soft and fragrant body pressed against him, and the distracting thoughts in his mind were swept away in an instant. The anger, humiliation, and unbearable past disappeared like smoke, leaving only the warm and intimate connection at this moment. Stop thinking nonsense. Anger will only make you lose your mind. For people with superpowers, sobriety and rationality are indispensable. Otherwise, no matter how strong the power is, you will eventually become a monster and lose the qualifications to be a human being. Quote. Li Luyao was immersed in the warm embrace and hesitantly responded. Be my student. Follow my sister and I'll make sure you don't suffer. I will definitely train you to be the most powerful person in the world. Ah, okay. After getting the answer she wanted, a flower-like smile appeared on Zhou Rongrong's face, and she quietly changed the subject. So, what rating do you want? S level is a bit too high, and it is easy to attract attention. I think C level is not bad, just in time to take the university special admissions exam. Li Luyao said in a daze. Well, C level is pretty good. I want C level 388. Huh, what's the special significance of this number? Teacher, haven't you seen One Punch Man? This is the ranking Saitama received when he took the superpower test. Quote. Zhou Rongrong was speechless for a moment, feeling that this boy was indeed a middle-aged boy, but she was not going to spoil his interest and agreed. Okay, from now on you will be a C level 388th domestic superpower user. After coming down from the roof and returning to the classroom, Li Luyao still felt dizzy, as if he had just woken up from a sweet dream. What just happened? How could I agree to that guy with unknown origins and let her be my mentor? Have I fallen into a beauty trap? Zhou Rongrong is beautiful, and there is nothing wrong with her figure, face, and temperament. But she is too old, at least 4 or 5 years older than herself. There will definitely be no future with her. But she smells so good, I don't know if it smells like shampoo, shower gel or cosmetics. And the hug just now was quite warm. It had a calming effect, making me forget all my worries in an instant. Isn't this some kind of weird superpower? Or, am I in love? Li Luyao couldn't stop giggling at the table. Saola on the side couldn't stand it anymore and cursed. Didn't you tell me to go to Teacher Zhou to comment and ask her to apologize to me? Why are you laughing like this now? You look like a nymphomaniac. Did your head get caught in the door? Hey, I'm sorry. There was an accident just now. Zhou Rongrong. No, Teacher Zhou gave me an ability assessment. Now I am also a person with superpowers recognized by the country. I am happy because here it is. Saola looked unbelieving. Genji's grandfather was a good basket weaver. When he got older and couldn't weave anymore, he passed the skill on to his son. Genji's father learned quickly. When he met everyone in the village, his grandfather would say, Hey. I can't edit it, but Genji's father can. Quote. Li Luyao stopped smiling and said seriously, I'm not going to lie to you, my ability rating is C level, the same as Wu Qinggang. Saola became even more angry. Then why can your C level beat Wu Qinggang's C level? Well, that's just a coincidence. I'm lucky, handsome, rich in combat experience, and capable in actual combat. In short, I am now a serious superpower and can take the college entrance examination. Hey, that's right. Li Luyao suddenly thought of something and found a topic that Saola must be interested in. Do you know about the university special recruitment examination? I know. How? Teacher Zhou just said that you can help me sign up for the special recruitment. If I am directly admitted with excellent grades, I won't even have to take the college entrance examination. Are you interested? Saola said angrily. The qualification to apply for the special recruitment examination is at least a C-level ability person. Do you think I can apply for an E-level one? This. Li Luyao made a mistake and stabbed Saola instead. He said awkwardly, Is there no other way? How about you use your money power to ask your family to donate a building to the school or something? Saola said displeased. If my father was willing to donate a building, then I would have gone to a shitty university and gone out to wander around. Then, I'm thinking about it. I see there's no other way. Before they knew it, the bell rang, and the two were about to go to the cafeteria to have breakfast, when a teacher stopped them at the door. Li Luyao, come to the academic affairs office with me. Quote. Li Luyao was a little helpless. Every day, everyone wanted to arrest him. It was really annoying. Can you go after breakfast? No, I'm worried that I won't be able to buy beef buns if I go late. You think you're the only one who wants to have breakfast. Our teachers are all hungry. Hurry. Okay. Li Luyao gave Sao a look, and the good brother immediately patted his chest, saying that he would definitely complete the task and help him grab the beef buns. After a while, the academic affairs office. There were more than 30 students in the corridor standing upright against the wall. Li Luyao looked around and saw that they all looked familiar. They were all the melon eaters in the gymnasium last night. Many parents angrily lectured their children. If the teacher hadn't stopped them, they would have taken action directly. Li Luyao's appearance instantly attracted everyone's attention. Yu Huan pointed at him and shouted, "Teacher Zhang, he was the one who fought with Wu Qinggang yesterday. Arrest him quickly." Lao Zhang, the director of the academic affairs office, heard the news and came out of the office quickly. He saw Li Luyao, looked at the video on his phone, and asked, "Is it you and Wu Qinggang who made the fight yesterday?" Li Luyao pretended to be innocent. "Teacher, yesterday Wu Qing just called people to beat me, how dare I go? After class, I went to my classmate's house to sleep, for fear of being caught by him." Lao Zhang watched the video again. The man fighting with Wu Qinggang in the picture was thin and small and wore a peaked cap, while the Li Luyao in front of him was tall and strong. Lao Zhang turned back to Yu Huan and asked, "Are you sure it's him?" Yu Huan nodded like a fool. "Teacher, I definitely didn't admit my mistake. This guy beat me up yesterday. I will never admit my mistake until I die. If you don't believe it, you can ask Wu Qinggang." As soon as Wu Qinggang was mentioned, Lao Zhang got angry and cursed, "Wu Qinggang, Wu Qinggang. You all know Wu Qinggang. He is planning to drop out of school. You little fools are really harmful." Yu Huan shut his mouth obediently, and Li Luyao asked curiously, "Teacher, why did Wu Qinggang drop out of school? Although he violated school rules, he will not be expelled." Lao Zhang ignored him and saw the office door suddenly opened, and Wu Qinggang and a middle-aged woman walked out. Wu Qinggang lowered his head. The originally tall man of 1.8 meters now looked like a little kid, following his mother obediently without any momentum at all. Lao Zhang opened his mouth and asked, "Xiao Wu, come here and see if this guy was the one who fought with you yesterday." Wu Qinggang raised his head and glanced at Li Luyao, who also looked back at him. Their eyes met, but there was no spark of emotion. But Wu Qinggang shook his head. "It's not him, I don't know him." Okay. Lao Zhang waved his hand to Li Luyao in disappointment. "You can go, you have nothing to do here." Li Luyao froze in place and did not leave. He couldn't understand why Wu Qinggang didn't identify him. If he wanted to take revenge, this was obviously a good opportunity. Although it may be useless, it will undoubtedly bring a lot of trouble to Li Luyao, and at least a criticism and education will be indispensable. Li Luyao asked, "Teacher, what are you going to do with these people?" Lao Zhang curled his lips. Joining gangs and brawling, every one of them is a serious fault. Now all universities attach great importance to the words, deeds and moral character of superpowers. If these guys cause such a big trouble, I am afraid it will directly affect the college entrance examination. My grades, to put it more seriously, I'm afraid I won't even be able to take the college entrance examination. As soon as these words came out, many students standing against the wall turned pale. They never imagined that eating melon and watching the excitement would come at such a serious cost. A few timid guys even shed tears. Can't you give them a chance to change their ways? The principal can't make the decision on this kind of thing, do you think I can? Li Luyao sighed, feeling that the crime was not serious enough. He hesitated for a while, walked away a little, took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. The moment the call was connected, Li Luyao immediately put on an attentive smile and said, "Hey, my dear tutor, I need your help with something." 10 minutes later, Zhou Rongrong arrived at the Academic Affairs Office building. Behind her were the principal, vice principal, party committee secretary, youth league committee secretary and a large number of senior teachers of Yingchuan Middle School. It was loud and powerful, like a fight. Before everyone went upstairs, Lao Zhang, the director of the Academic Affairs Office, was already scared to death. He knew that a leader from the Superpower Management Center came to the school to inspect the school, and he also knew that he learned that the leader had become the honorary principal. The problem is that he didn't come early and he didn't come later, but he came when the school was in such a big mess. If this matter couldn't be handled well, he, the director, could really resign on the spot and go home to farm. Hide all of you, hide all of me quickly, don't let the principal see you. Lao Zhang waved his hand and ordered the punished students to quickly find a place to hide. But there was not much room for these 30 or 40 people, so some students immediately complained, "Teacher, we have no place to go, why don't you let us all go?" Lao Zhang swore, if he let them go downstairs now, wouldn't he just run into the principal and fall into a trap? In desperation, Lao Zhang had no choice but to threaten, "Please be honest later, and no one will talk nonsense, or you will not be able to reap the benefits." After taking care of this, Lao Zhang straightened his clothes and trimmed his hair, and then he went to the corridor to wait attentively, ready to welcome the distinguished guests. The first person he waited for was Zhou Rongrong. She had just finished breakfast accompanied by all the school leaders. At this moment, she was holding an unfinished glass of soy milk in her hand, with the straw in her mouth, her cheeks were pudgy, and she was very cute. Lao Zhang's heart skipped a beat for no reason, thinking whose daughter this was. She was so pretty. It would be great if his daughter-in-law was half as beautiful as her. Then he looked toward the back of the crowd and saw all the old leaders of the school, all with serious expressions and as quiet as chickens. Several teachers winked at him, as if they wanted to say something to him, but it was inconvenient for them to speak. "Good morning, principal, good morning to all leaders." Lao Zhang said hello, but no one responded to him. Only the pretty girl asked him, "I heard that a student from Yingchuan Middle School got into a big accident, is that true?" Lao Zhang was attentive after all, and he quickly understood that this girl was the leader of the legendary Superpower Management Center. He immediately said with a sorry smile, "There was a group of students who stayed up late at night to play ball in the gym, but I caught them all. Now they are criticism and education." "Oh, is it playing ball or fighting? I heard that the floor of the gymnasium was smashed. Is this how your students play ball?" "Ah, this." Lao Zhang was in embarrassment and didn't know how to answer. He looked at the old principal for help, but the principal made a silencing gesture to him. The meaning was very clear. Lao Zhang suddenly felt despair and said blankly, "It's all my fault for my incompetence in teaching and disciplining the students so hard that they became rebellious. This matter is entirely my responsibility and negligence, and other people's it doesn't matter at all." "Oh," Zhou Rongrong chuckled lightly, suddenly reached out and patted his shoulder, comforting him, "This matter is not as serious as you think. It's just a fight between primary school students. What's there to blame yourself for? I think back when I was the president of the student union. I beat every boy from the teaching building to the North Gate, and there wasn't a single boy in the school who hadn't been beaten by me, which was really fun." Quote. What did you say? Lao Zhang simply suspected that he had heard wrongly. Could it be that this female leader also graduated from Yingchuan Middle School? How come he had no impression at all? This is impossible. If there was an alumnus working in the Superpower Management Center, he would definitely have been ingratiated with him a long time ago. How could it be possible? Zhou Rongrong stopped paying attention to him and quickly came to the front of many students who made mistakes. She looked around, but couldn't find Li Luyao, so she said to herself, "We superpowers are equipped with martial arts, and fights are always inevitable. But our power must be used on the right path, to eradicate evil forces and fight against evil forces. The demon army focuses on important matters such as protecting the weak, rather than acting viciously, forming gangs, and fighting and causing trouble." Everyone said in unison, "Understood." Zhou Rongrong walked in front of everyone solemnly with his hands behind his back. Her eyes were clear and gentle, compassionate and stern, as if she was inspecting the army or performing soul torture. Everyone lowered their heads in unison under her gaze, not daring to look at her. Occasionally, a few bold animals could persist for a few seconds but were quickly defeated. As a gust of wind blew across the hall, a refreshing smell of vanilla spread throughout the corridor, and everyone sniffed their noses subconsciously. Suddenly there was a pop sound, and both Yu Huan and Xu Cheng fell to their knees. Yu Huan burst into tears and cried, "Teacher, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't bully my classmates, and I shouldn't ask them to collect protection money. From now on, I will definitely change my ways and be a new person. I will apologize and pay back if you can't afford the money, go work." I will never be a scum of society again. Shu Chang also cried. Teacher, I will never fight with anyone again. I used to be a little gangster who didn't know the heights of the world, but now I understand that I can't even be considered an ant in front of real masters. From now on, I will definitely do the best. I am a good person and I have changed my ways. Please give me a chance, teacher. Wu Qinggang also said in a low voice. I allowed the students in the physical education department to fight and cause trouble, bully my classmates, and knew my mistakes without correcting them. I am really bad as the president of the student union. As the three people admitted their mistakes, other students also knelt down under the pomegranate skirt and confessed loudly. For a moment, the entire corridor was like a church, with tears flowing everywhere and loud cries. All the students were lying on the ground, and Zhou Rongrong was surrounded by stars and the moon, completely treating her as a savior. Teachers, parents and leaders watched silently. Some of them wanted to go up and pay homage but were stopped. Everyone looked at Zhou Rongrong with respect, admiration, as if she was not a little girl in her 20s, but the reincarnation of the Bodhisattva from heaven to earth. Zhou Rongrong listened quietly for half an hour, and finally got tired. She clapped her hands and said, Okay, you have recognized the mistake and know what to do. Practice it well in the future and don't make the same mistake again. Thank you, teacher. Don't thank me, but thank Li Luyao. Zhou Rongrong turned around and left, and the crowd moved aside like waves. The moment she went downstairs, she saw Li Luyao's figure in the corner, grinned to herself, and went downstairs. Half an hour later, Wu Qinggang led a group of people to the door of Class 2, Grade 3, and asked Li Luyao by name. Li Luyao went out with a straight face, probably knowing what these guys wanted to do. Just now, Li Luyao saw what Zhou Rongrong was doing in the academic affairs office. At that time, Zhou Rongrong was like Jesus coming to the world, instantly making these stubborn students kneel down to repent, and they all fell under her pomegranate skirt. Li Luyao was very suspicious that the guy used some strange superpower. Since dual superpowers do exist, maybe she also has a third superpower. He is indeed a guy with unknown origins. Li Luyao's curiosity rose unknowingly, and he felt that it was necessary to find out her details. Otherwise, he would be too passive, and he didn't want to be manipulated. Outside the classroom, Wu Qinggang and other physical education students bowed and apologized to Li Luyao. Li Luyao waved his hand, feeling that this battle was too ostentatious, and said, Okay, just correct your mistakes if you know they are wrong, there is no need to come to me. Wu Qinggang was silent for a while and said, I have resigned from the position of student union president. The principal asked me to recommend a new candidate. Are you interested? Li Luyao muttered, It's time to graduate. Let's forget about being the student union president. I just want to finish my high school life quietly. Don't make any trouble for me. Wu Qinggang insisted. But after much thought, I think only people like you who are both academically excellent and intelligent and courageous are worthy of being the president of the student union. Apart from you. Li Luyao interrupted quickly. Don't you. You don't have any conscience when complimenting others. You have both good character and academic skills, wisdom and bravery. I'd better be a tailgater. This kind of thing I'm not interested in children's games of house. Wu Qinggang tried to persuade him for a long time, but was directly rejected by Li Luyao. Yu Huan from the side suddenly came over and said excitedly, Since you don't want to be the president of the student union, then be our boss. From now on, we will all be your little brothers. Li Luyao had a dark look on his face, and almost slapped him, and cursed, Students should do their own thing, study hard and make progress every day. You are either forming cliques or shouting to kill each other every day. What are you doing? Looks like this. Besides, I haven't been a big brother for many years, and you guys still want to be my little brothers. It's just a dream. Yu Huan was stunned for a moment and almost burst into tears. Wu Qinggang explained. These people are actually not bad in nature, but they have never found a good role model. I think if you can lead them, you can definitely make them change their ways and avoid many detours. Li Luyao thought for a while and finally compromised. How about this? You go and set up a mutual aid group for poor students. Everyone will supervise each other and help each other. If I have time, I will go over to see you and arrange some work for you. Yu Huan was the first to raise his hand in agreement. Okay, okay. Wu Qinggang also said that he could help form the association and proposed that Li Luyao be the president. Amid a burst of laughter, Li Luyao didn't bother to refuse and waved his hand to let them disperse. Finally, the farce came to an end. Li Luyao never expected that this trouble could be solved in just 2 days, making the campus quiet again. Returning to the classroom, all the students in the class looked at him with more complicated expressions, especially Monitor Lu Chun, who was trembling, worried that his position as monitor would be in jeopardy. Li Luyao sat back in his seat and sighed. Cao Le gave him a thumbs up. Awesome, my brother, you actually subdued those villains. Li Luyao spread his hands. This has nothing to do with me, it was Teacher Zhou who did it. Ha, Cao Le was confused when he heard this. Li Luyao said mysteriously, I guess that Teacher Zhou has superpowers that can make people surrender. As long as she is willing, everyone will fall under her pomegranate skirt. Cao Le was dubious. Don't every beautiful girl have this ability? What kind of superpower is this? Hey, didn't you see the situation in the academic affairs office just now? A group of people knelt at her feet and repented in pain. There are so many evil ways. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would definitely not believe it. Cao Le nodded. I don't believe it. Quote. Li Luyao put his hands on his forehead, saying he had nothing to say. Suddenly he thought of something and whispered, do me a favor. Help me find out the details about Teacher Zhou. What are you doing? It's nothing. I just want to know what school she graduated from, what her superpower is, her rank, her family background, and whether she has a boyfriend. What, don't you want to know? Hey. Cao Le giggled. Although this guy's self-esteem was knocked down by Zhou Rongrong in the morning, his favorable impression of her has not decreased at all. When he saw the opportunity to get to know this beautiful woman better, he immediately agreed without hesitation. At lunchtime, Li Luyao took Cao Le to the canteen to eat hot pot. Halfway through, I suddenly received a text message from Zhou Rongrong. Li Luyao glanced at it and ignored it. After a while, the phone rang again. Cao Le asked, who is it? Li Luyao lied, harassing text messages. As soon as he finished speaking, someone suddenly tapped him on the shoulder. When he turned around, he saw Zhou Rongrong standing in front of him with a smirk on his face, and said angrily, what? The honorary principal asked you to have a meal and you are still unwilling. And you are talking about me. Are you harassing you? If other people hear this, they will drown you with their saliva. Li Luyao curled his lips impatiently. Cao Le beside him had lost the ability to organize his words and hesitated. Hello, teacher, have you eaten? Zhou Rongrong gave him a sweet smile. I just sent those old guys away, and I'm about to go find you for dinner. Please give me some recommendations on what's delicious in the canteen right now. Cao Le suddenly beamed. Teacher, the beef hot pot on the 3rd floor is pretty good. We go there often. Okay, let's go eat hot pot, I'll treat you to it. No, I'll treat you. Cao Le took the lead and took Zhou Rongrong to the 3rd floor. Along the way, teachers and students kept saying hello to Zhou Rongrong and casting envious glances at Cao Le. Cao Le laughed, feeling more honored, and even his chest straightened up. Sitting down in the small private room, Cao Le immediately ordered a full table of meals. He was obviously very nervous, but he kept chatting with Zhou Rongrong without saying anything. Li Luyao remained silent and ate quietly. Zhou Rongrong ignored him and asked Cao Le about Li Luyao's situation, not caring that the real owner was right in front of him. Cao Le first told a bunch of embarrassing things about Li Luyao, recounting the tragic life of the two before they awakened their superpowers. How I was bullied, how I was charged protection fees, how I was despised by teachers and students, all were explained in detail. Finally, the topic changed and we talked about the strange things that happened to Li Luyao after he awakened his abilities. From the heroic rescue of a beauty in the toilet, punching to suppress Kansai, to the president of the student union in the gymnasium, he fled the scene with a slight step afterward, hiding his skills and abilities. Name. Talking about the details, Li Luyao told Zhou Rongrong everything about Li Luyao's increased appetite, not wanting to be famous, what kind of girls he likes, and his strange superpowers. The more Li Luyao heard, the more something was wrong. He almost couldn't even eat a good beef hot pot. Oh shit, is Saola an idiot? Didn't you see that Joe Rongrong was trying to trick him? This guy is here to collect information. Although I don't know why she is asking about this, my intuition tells him that it is definitely up to no good. Sure enough, Joe Rongrong suddenly moved her eyes, stared at him for a moment, and said, I have been observing you for a long time, and you look like a pig. Saola said that your appetite is bigger than before after awakening your superpower. Dozens of times, is this true? Li Luyao said unhappily, I am a person with enhanced abilities. Isn't it normal for me to have a larger appetite? Joe Rongrong suppressed her smile and said seriously, no, this is not normal at all. Your power is extraordinary, so the negative effects are also extremely terrible. You know what you will do if you are starved for 10 or 8 days. What happened? Li Luyao blinked and joked, what can you do? Can you cook? No. Joe Rongrong tapped the table with her fingers, you can eat people. Don't try to scare me. You think I am Saola? Li Luyao snorted coldly, not believing it at all. Saola said inexplicably, huh? What's wrong with me? Li Luyao said perfunctorily, it's none of your business. We've finished eating the meat. Go get more. Oh, okay, eat less, you guy. Teacher Joe hasn't moved his chopsticks yet. Saola complained and went to find the boss to add food, and suddenly they were the only 2 people left at the dinner table. Joe Rongrong and Li Luyao looked at each other with big eyes and small eyes, like a couple quarreling and getting angry, neither of them willing to look away first. Li Luyao saw all kinds of emotions from those beautiful peach blossom eyes, and he was always on guard against that weird superpower that could make people cry and repent. He didn't want to do something embarrassing like that in the cafeteria. That was simply social. It's a shame to die and be thrown into grandma's house. Fortunately, Joe Rongrong had no intention of letting her kneel under the pomegranate skirt. She took a sip of barley tea and said leisurely, do you know how the devils in the world come from? Before Li Luyao could answer, Joe Rongrong said to himself, according to United Nations global data, more than 70% of demons are transformed by superpowers. The more powerful the superpower, the greater the risks involved. Once you lose your mind, you will become a demon and an inhuman existence. Li Luyao was confused when he heard, what does this have to do with me? Joe Rongrong rolled her eyes at him, there is no doubt that your weakness is appetite. Once you are unable to satisfy your appetite, you will become a monster and a devil. It's not that serious, is it? It's that serious. Appetite is the anchor of your personality and your qualification as a human being. Quote. Li Luyao complained. What you are assuming is an extreme situation, and it is impossible to happen in reality. First of all, it is impossible for me to not be able to satisfy my appetite, and it is impossible to have no food. Is there anyone who can stop me from filling my stomach? Will I not be able to afford food? Joe Rongrong insisted. Of course you can afford to eat now, but what about 10 days, 20 days, and 30 days later? If your appetite continues to expand with strength, and you can't afford to eat by then, what will you do? I will work to earn money, I'm not stupid. No, you won't. Joe Rongrong shook his head. When that moment comes, when you lose your mind, it is more in line with biological instinct to steal and eat the king's meal. If you really reach that critical point, you will not have time to work to make money, you can find those things written in the criminal law that make money quickly. You are alarmist again. Li Luyao smacked his lips, feeling that this guy was very good at explaining things and had the potential to be a MLM master. How could he not be able to afford food? How could you do something illegal and disciplinary just for a meal? How is it possible to be so hungry that you lose your mind? This extreme situation is simply impossible to happen. If people can be convicted by assumptions, then everyone in the world will be sinners. Joe Rongrong crossed her arms, leaned back in her seat, and said provocatively, since you don't believe it, why don't we make a bet? Li Luyao was not afraid at all and shouted, what are you betting on? Joe Rongrong smiled brightly and said mysteriously, come to my house tonight, I will prove that my guess is right. There was a crisp, bang, sound, and some dishes fell into pieces, and the clinking sound echoed in the restaurant. Saola, who had just returned, seemed to have heard something he shouldn't have heard, and was so frightened that he threw the entire fruit plate out. He looked at Joe Rongrong and then at Li Luyao, not knowing what expression to show. Li Luyao knew that this guy must have misunderstood, and he couldn't laugh or cry. It's really not what you think, please listen to my explanation. After school in the evening, Li Luyao got into Zhou Rongrong's white Porsche. He didn't have the nerve to sit in the passenger seat, but chose to sit in the back seat like a passenger. Zhou Rongrong was humming a tune while driving. Li Luyao looked at the busy traffic outside the window and was thinking about other things. He didn't study hard all day today. After comforting Saola, the two of them were trying to find out about Zhou Rongrong and find out her details. According to the gossip of classmates and unknown people outside the school, they finally got some useful information. Zhou Rongrong, a native of Yingchuan City, an alumnus of Yingchuan Middle School, and former student union president. Legend has it that she is the youngest A-level superpower in Yingchuan City. She was specially recruited by Bidoukou University before she graduated. After graduating from the PhD, he worked in the research laboratory of the Superpower Management Center. The research content was classified as national confidentiality. From then on, there was no trace of his resume, only various gossip scraps. Some people say that she comes from a prominent family and was born with a golden key in her mouth. Regardless of her figure, appearance, knowledge, background, resources, and connections, she is impeccable. People chasing her can line up from the school gate to the high-speed rail station. She could have been in politics, business, and traveled around the world to enjoy life, but she chose to be an ordinary researcher. Perhaps it is precisely because of this approachable profession that it has given many people unrealistic fantasies, making them think that they are qualified to be favored by beautiful women. The flowers she receives every day can fill up 10 trash cans. All kinds of high-quality men, inside and outside the research institute, are trying their best to get closer to her. The office is always full of admirers who want to talk to her in person. All need to queue up to register and make an appointment. But even so, she has never had any scandals with anyone, so many people secretly speculated that she was actually a lesbian and didn't like men at all. For this reason, some brave female colleagues tried their own methods, but they all failed. Zhou Rongrong spent a day on campus today and was treated like an emperor and a superstar. Li Luyao is very aware of the dirty thoughts of adolescent boys. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as he is a boy with normal physical development and normal orientation, every boy will regard Zhou Rongrong as the lover of his dreams. Even Li Luyao himself is no exception. It's just that because Zhou Rongrong's background and superpowers are too mysterious, he has always been afraid and unable to focus on matters between men and women. As a result, now, he got into the car of the goddess teacher and followed her to participate in devil training. If those male classmates in school knew about this, they would be so jealous that they would roll on the spot, burst into tears and lose sleep until dawn. What are you thinking about? We're almost there. Zhou Rongrong suddenly asked, and Li Luyao recovered from his giggle. Teacher Zhou, where are we going? Go to my house. Well, this direction is. Li Luyao looked out the window at the rugged mountain road. Your home is in the mountains. Yes, I usually like peace and quiet, so I built a house on Kibo Mountain. I usually come here on weekends. Tisk tisk tisk. She is worthy of being a goddess. The second generation of other rich families have mansions, villas, cars and BMWs, but Zhou Rongrong actually lives in seclusion in the mountains. This Kibo Mountain is a national nature reserve. You must be rich or expensive to build a house here. It is impossible for ordinary wealthy people to have this opportunity. Feeling the huge class gap and the gap between rich and poor, Li Luyao has no feelings of inferiority. After all, this is a brand new era of superpowers, and all social levels are quietly changing. Li Luyao has an unlimited attribute panel in his hand and is not worried about whether he will have a bright future at all. As long as he puts more thought into it, he will definitely be able to climb to the top of the world. Money, status, reputation, cars, mansions, beauties, everything is a matter of course. Even if she is a high-altitude flower like Zhou Rongrong, there must be a strong person who can pick her off. Forget it, Zhou Rongrong, forget it. I really can't afford to offend such a woman. She says that she can eat people and become a monster whenever she disagrees with her. Who can stand this? It is already very risky to let her be your mentor. If you continue to contact her, you don't know what else will happen. Teacher Zhou, what exactly is the experiment you are talking about? Can it be completed tonight? Why, are you impatient now? Joe Rongrong smiled at him in the rearview mirror and joked. Don't worry, I will definitely make you convinced that you lost tonight. Then you will definitely obey my words and be a good little brother. Quote. Li Luyao shuddered involuntarily, feeling like he had fallen into a trap and worried about what would happen next. Half an hour later, the white Porsche parked outside a wooden house. The wooden house is not small. It is 2 stories high. It has a wooden structure. It has a living room, kitchen, bathroom, study room, and entertainment room. Modern facilities are integrated with nature. Whether it is design, decoration or overall style, it is beautiful at first sight. With great thought, it completely beats those cookie-cutter small bungalows in the city. As soon as she entered the door, Joe Rongrong took out a pair of pink Hello Kitty slippers from the shoe cabinet and handed them to Li Luyao. No one else has been here, so I don't have anything for guests. Just use mine. Ah, okay. Li Luyao was not picky either. He quickly changed his shoes and walked into the living room. I usually don't eat at night. If you're hungry, I'll feed you something. Don't bother, I'm not hungry yet. You're going to do an experiment later. How can you do it without filling your stomach? Wait a minute while I change my clothes. Joe Rongrong ducked into the cloakroom, and the sound of undressing and belting was heard, which made people think. Li Luyao forcibly restrained his mind and retracted his attention. He looked around and saw that the furnishings in the spacious living room were very simple, including carpets, sofas, and small coffee tables. There is no TV on the wall, instead there is a whole wall of bookcases and books. It has always been Li Luyao's dream to turn the living room into a comfortable study. However, no matter in his previous life or in this life, he was impoverished and could only live his life in pictures on the internet. At this moment, the dream suddenly came into reality, making his heart beat faster unconsciously, a bit. You can sit down wherever you want. You're welcome. You can take whatever you want to see and I'll cook some noodles for you. Joe Rongrong changed into loose home clothes and came out, greeted him and entered the kitchen. Li Luyao felt embarrassed and took the initiative to follow him. Is there anything I can do to help? Can you cook? I have been cooking for myself since I was a child, and my cooking skills are not bad. That's right. Joe Rongrong suddenly remembered Li Luyao's life experience and immediately changed the subject. I'll try your cooking some other time when I have time. Today you are a guest, so I'll prepare the first meal. Then let me help you choose the food. It was rare for the two of them to coexist peacefully, with no bickering or testing. Li Luyao felt that Joe Rongrong seemed to be a different person when he returned home, no longer as aggressive as he was at school. When I'm young, I don't know how good my sister is. A child with a sister is a treasure. If Joe Rongrong had always been so approachable, he would definitely be more likable. Li Luyao thought secretly, observing the eldest lady's cooking skills from time to see if she was online. A bowl of noodles does not require any complicated skills, but Joe Rongrong seemed to deliberately feed him, making him a large bowl of tomato, egg and fish ball noodles. Teacher, you really don't want to eat. I never eat after lunch, so 2 meals a day is just right. No wonder you have such a good figure. Li Luyao knew he had made a mistake, so he quickly stopped talking and concentrated on eating noodles. The noodles are delicious, and the hot soup is sour and sweet and heartwarming. Li Luyao couldn't remember the last time someone cooked noodles for him. In his memory, he had always made enough food and clothing by himself. Apart from occasionally buying noodles from canteens and stalls, he had always been able to save money and spend all his energy on exploring and awakening method. Right now, the goddess teacher is busy with him in person, it's like a dream. After a while, Li Luyao ate the entire bowl of noodles, and then went to the kitchen to clean up the dishes. It's time to go. Leave the bowls alone for me to wash tomorrow. Joe Rongrong shouted outside the house, and Li Luyao cleaned up quickly. When he returned to the living room, he couldn't help but be stunned. Joe Rongrong didn't know when she changed into a white tight-fitting sportswear. Her waterfall-like hair was tied up high, she took off her gold-rimmed glasses, and wore a baseball cap on her head. She looked energetic and bright. In just a few hours, he had already seen 3 completely different Joe Rongrongs. One is an icy goddess who wears a purple dress in school and keeps people away from her. One is the big sister next door who wears home clothes at home, is approachable, attentive and appropriate. One is a healthy, lively and curvy sports beauty in front of her. Every character of Joe Rongrong satisfies his imagination of women and perfectly meets his inner emotional needs. It is hard not to make people's hearts flutter. What are you looking at? Are there flowers on my face? No, teacher, you are quite. Li Luyao originally wanted to praise her for looking pretty, but after all, Joe Rongrong is a teacher, not a little girl. It was really inappropriate to speak like this, so he immediately changed his words. Teacher, you have a lot of clothes. There is a saying that there is always one less piece of clothing in a girl's wardrobe. You will know this when you get a girlfriend in the future. Joe Rongrong smiled, showing a rare hint of charm, and waved to him, let's go. The two of them changed their shoes and went out, walked through the small garden at the door and a bluestone road, and walked quickly to the mountain road. Joe Rongrong suddenly stretched out his arms and began to move his limbs to stretch his muscles. Li Luyao looked confused and asked, Teacher, is the experiment you are talking about running? Joe Rongrong made a silent gesture. Let's run 20 kilometers first. If you can persist, I will tell you. 20 kilometers. Li Luyao was in a bit of a dilemma. Although he was used to running, 20 kilometers was already half a marathon. He had just finished his meal and hadn't even had time to digest his food. Running at such a high intensity was really inappropriate. Besides, in this barren mountain, if a monster robber or something breaks out halfway, oh, that would be a good chance for a hero to save the beauty. Stop dawdling, let's go. Joe Rongrong took a step and ran away. Li Luyao had no choice but to keep up. Joe Rongrong's pace was neither too fast nor too slow. During the first section of the journey, she used the corner of her eye to observe Li Luyao's condition from time to time. Seeing that he could easily keep up, she started to speed up the pace and ran freely against the mountain wind. 3 hours later, the two of them went deep into the mountain, and they didn't know where they reached. Li Luyao murmured in his heart, if he ran 20 kilometers in one breath, then the return trip would have to be another 20 kilometers. The legendary experiment that convinced him to lose wouldn't be to drag him to the mountains to run a marathon. This would be useless. Even before awakening his superpower, he could finish the run easily. Suddenly, a little light appeared in front of him, lighting up the night sky. Getting closer, I saw 3 tall buildings rising from the ground in the deep mountains and old forests, warning searchlights patrolling the forest, and a security checkpoint at the end of the road blocking the way. Joe Rongrong slowed down and walked forward, and asked casually, do you know where Kibo Mountain is? Li Luyao thought for a moment and replied, tourist attractions, nature reserves, what's in front of it, the tourist service center. There is no visitor center in the middle of the mountain. I didn't take your history class well when I saw you. Joe Rongrong said seriously. Yunji Kija Xuanyuan Benji says, at that time, there was an immortal uncle who came from the foot of Kashan Mountain, named Chi Bo. He was good at explaining the medicinal taste of herbs. He was a great doctor. Huang Di asked the master of prescriptions and wrote the Nei Jing. Lu Shi also records that the Yellow Emperor visited Xi'an in Qi and visited Chi Bo. Li Luyao was confused after hearing this, thinking that these things are not taught in history classes. Who reads Yunji Qi Zhu and History of the Road in history class? Joe Rongrong continued. This was originally a Chinese herbal medicine research center. It was secretly transformed into a superpower research institute 3 years ago. Do you understand now? Li Luyao's expression was complicated. It seemed that this guy was serious about coming. He actually brought him directly to the research institute. I'm afraid this would not be an easy test today. He took a chance and said, this place seems to be heavily guarded. Can we get in? Joe Rongrong rolled her eyes and said angrily, why should I bring you here if you can't even get in? Come for a visit. After saying that, she took out her mobile phone and dialed a number quickly, then said to the other end of the phone, brother, I'm at the door, come out and pick me up. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.